Check one, check two. What's up, everybody? What's good? What's good? What's good? TC, what's happening? Warren, what's good? What's up, Manny? Michigan Wolverines, Sherilyn Beemore, Big John Poles. Kirk, what's happening, Kirk? Good to see you. Got Warren up in here, as always. Filthy McNasty, what's happening, baby? Map one. Hi. Tony Edwards, what's good, baby? There's Ramsey. Yep. Brett Favre should be in jail. Indeed.
Pat McAfee falling back was a little disappointing.
I missed that.
Yeah, he dropped his. Brett Favre dropped the defamation or libel suit or whatever because Pat McAfee said he was only joking and he loves him. He's a great Hall of Famer and all this other stuff.
Yeah. We got him screaming D-Lo, KC, D-Lo, KC, D-Lo, KC, D-Lo. We got him screaming D-Lo, KC, D-Lo, KC, D-Lo, D-Lo. We your number one spot. We your number one spot for some sports, huh? Got the city going crazy when we work, huh? We top two, but we ain't two, we in first, huh? And when you need the real, we is who you search, huh? D-Lo, KC, D-Lo, KC, D-Lo, KC, D-Lo. We your number one spot.
Welcome in here to the Thursday, May 11th edition of D-Lo and KC. I'm Damian Borling.
Acknowledge me.
He's Kenny Caraway.
Yes, sir.
Acknowledge me.
We're so happy that you're here with us on the Odyssey app. We're so happy that you're here with us on ESPN 1320, 98.5 FM HD2. We welcome those watching the show on twitch.tv/ESPN1320 and youtube.com/ESPN1320. We welcome those scrolling their timelines on Twitter and Facebook, multiple ways to check us out. But wherever you are, we thank you so much for being here with us. We'll get to the Sacramento Kings as we saw yesterday, right as the live radio show was coming to a conclusion. We stuck around on the live stream for the announcements of the All-NBA team. And, of course, we saw De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis being named All-NBA third team, along with Dame Lillard, LeBron James, and Julius Randle.
LeBron James.
We'll talk about that as we roll along. Saw a couple of those guys in action. One of them went up, one of them went down. The Knicks and the Warriors live to fight another day.
Let's go, Knicks. Let's go, New York. Let's go, New York. Come on, baby. We fighting, baby. Knicks in 7.
Really,
Knicks in 7.
You're really a little too loose for the we, but it's all good. Like I guess that's your number one squad.
No, stop it. See, there goes the media again. I
thought Miami, they hung around so long. I'm like, I think New York is going to cough this up. Like they would not go away. They just kept getting big baskets. Like Duncan Robinson was just, they just
Duncan
kept
Robinson is a revelation.
hitting big baskets from guys. And it was like,
Gabe Vincent, shout out to him, man. He's had an unbelievable playoffs.
He really
unbelievable
has.
Playoffs.
He's had a great year in general.
Yeah.
I got a question. I was having this conversation this morning, and this might come back in a later part of today's show, so forgive me if it does. Is Erik Spoelstra the best coach in the NBA?
No. He's really good, but I don't think he's the best coach in the NBA.
Who is?
Off the top of my head, we talk about him a lot. I think Doc Rivers is a good coach. I think Doc Rivers is a hell of a coach. So I think there's a list of guys. I think Steve Kerr is a great coach.
And you think they're both better than Erik Spoelstra?
I think Erik Spoelstra is in that list. It's hard to say, as far as like the best for me, because I think they're all on that list. Ty Lue is a hell of a coach. I think he does.
I'm not asking who's a good coach. I'm asking
I'd
you.
Say Steve Kerr off the top of my head.
Steve Kerr is the best coach in the NBA.
If we have to have a number one, Steve Kerr. Yes.
Okay, I think I disagree, and I love every coach that you just named.
Mm-hmm.
Like Erik Spoelstra, who does more with less? Like Erik Spoelstra is here knocking on the door of the Eastern Conference Finals. Like they knocked off Erik Spoelstra. Erik Spoelstra got Mike Budenholzer fired. Like I mean, I look at like, man, look where he's at with the squad. You look at the way that they play. A lot of that is I don't know if there's a such thing as the verbiage of heat culture. I don't know if that's like a vernacular in the NBA, but
yeah, absolutely it is.
I mean,
a lot of people hate it.
That's fine. It works.
Yeah,
it's good.
You're not gonna get me to argue that he's not the best. Like he's a phenomenal coach. He does a great job year in and year out. He lays the groundwork. He's a phenomenal coach.
And yes, everyone pointing it out. Our coach is the best. I mean, let's call it what it is. He won an award for it. Mike Brown is the best. But when I look at the totality of the league and try to take out, Doc, Ty Lue, love all of those guys, I kept going back to Erik Spoelstra, like who has done more with less. Now, of course, he had more for a stretch of time, for a 4-year period of time. But that's also they went through it. I wouldn't even call it like a mild rebuild. They just went through like a really, really brief, like down year, and then we're right back. I mean, it got to the point where they eventually were competing for titles, but they don't fold. They never fall over. Like,
I mean, but see, this is the problem that I have with that. Like, it's recency bias, really, because until this year, you might say Coach Bud. They got swept in the first round 2 years ago. Miami did.
Yeah, that's fine.
Coach Bud just got lost in the first round. He's now no longer the best coach.
But that's not my point. My point is, when has Erik Spoelstra ever had since LeBron left Giannis Antetokounmpo on his team, or a player of that ilk? Like since the Heatles left.
I mean, Jimmy Butler has been widely considered as a top 10 player in the league. He's not Giannis, no. But okay. Jimmy Butler ain't.
So you could call my thoughts on Erik Spoelstra a lot of things, but don't call it recency bias. That's not what it is. Like I'm looking at Erik Spoelstra's. I'm looking at a stretch of Erik Spoelstra now where you could talk about, again, Doc Rivers, very good. A lot of people would say Doc Rivers failed. I don't know that anyone's ever said, hey, Erik Spoelstra had a roster that he failed with.
No.
I feel like he overachieves more than he fails. I feel like he's overachieving right now.
Once again, you won't get me arguing that he's not the best. If anybody says he's the best coach in the NBA, I'm not going to argue against that. He's a hell of a coach. I love it. I love everything that he sets up with that team. They've got guys like me who didn't think they would win a game in the playoffs. And like you mentioned, they're on the brink of going to the Eastern Conference Finals again. So I'm not going to argue against Erik Spoelstra.
We're going to talk about coaches later, but more as it pertains to today's one of those days. Like, I love what we do for a living, but this medium of sportsman, it's so embarrassing. Like looking at those guys on TNT last night, seeing those guys on television this morning, this profession where we sit down and talk about what other people are doing can often be really embarrassing. Today is one of those days that's embarrassing. I was watching the reaction to the Boston Celtics loss yesterday. I think some context needs to be provided to some people for the Boston Celtics season and exactly where they're at and what they've gone through. There are people who think good teams like Boston don't need coaches, don't need good coaches. And that's cap. That's big cap. There oftentimes differences in a series is a coach. If the Warriors come back to beat the Lakers, I'm leaning heavy on Steve Kerr as a reason why. I think Steve Kerr is a better coach at this point in their respective careers, 1 year in, 10 years in, or whatever it is, Steve Kerr versus Darvin Ham. But I think some people need to be reminded of some things as it pertains to the Boston Celtics. So we'll get to that stuff later. But the story last night, the Lakers withstood the Warriors' early barrage, and I thought, whoo, man! After that first quarter, I was like, this game's over. Warriors winning it, or the Lakers winning in a blowout, because the Warriors ain't gonna be able to keep this up. They left hook, right hook, uppercut, rock bottom, people's elbow, leg drop, cup the ear, play to the crowd, and it was like tied. Like, oh man, they just took every punch that they had, and then the Warriors just kept punching.
Mm-hmm.
And they just kept
they
punching.
Still had more in the tank.
Draymond Green, Lord have mercy.
Good game from Draymond last night.
He did.
Good game from Draymond.
He did. We got some interesting stats on Draymond Green's games like that we'll throw at you later on. But the Warriors live to fight another day.
I figured they would win yesterday. I mean, they are the defending champions. They play really well at home, especially in the playoffs. I would have been really, really surprised if the Warriors would have lost yesterday. I would have been shocked. Now, I wouldn't be. I'm not gonna say I'd be shocked if the Lakers close it out in 6, because I think that's what's going to happen. Or excuse me, if they don't close it out in 6, because I think the Lakers are going to do that. But this Warriors team, I mentioned it before. I've watched, this Warriors fan base for 8-9 years now. And a lot of the times I just see them squirm, but rarely do I see them all the way dead. And that's what happens with these Warriors. They squirm, they get in these series, they get in these predicaments, and, everybody's blaming everybody, and it's this person's fault, and they're running this person out of town, and they're squirming. And that's fun to see. But these Warriors, they find a way to get up out of it. So they're not. I said the other day, they're not dead until the clock hits 0. Then the Lakers have won that 4th game. Mm-hmm. So nothing would surprise me with Game 6. Nothing would surprise me.
No, it wouldn't. In the storylines, you think that fan base is unbearable now? You think that media cluster, many of which have really embarrassed themselves over the last 6 weeks, you think they're unbearable now? Oh, man. Let them come back 3-1 against LeBron James. If you have a Warriors fan in your life and the Lakers lose tomorrow, it's in your best interest to sever that relationship.
Mm.
I don't care if it's your girl, your man, your mom, your dad, your aunt. You are going to want to sever that relationship, because that is going to be the most unbearable group of individuals in the history of professional sports. Well, and with that said, they would have every right to be.
And I mean, they're the winners. They're the winners. The defending champions right now, they've seen 4 championships. They can talk whatever stuff they want to talk. One of the things you talk about coaching and things of that nature, I know there's a lot of dialogue about, the Lakers having more pressure on them in Game 6. I don't put a whole lot of stock into some of the coaching that goes into play sometimes. But this is where Darvin Ham has to remind his team, no, we don't have more pressure than the Warriors. We don't. We want to go ahead and take care of business. We want to take care of business at home on this Friday night at crypto.com. But make no bones about it. Our season is not on the line. The Warriors season is. And I heard that a lot, oh man, all the pressure is shifted to the Lakers. No, it hasn't.
Well, they're just regurgitating what Steph said.
Yeah, no,
that's all they're doing.
And this is where, like I said, the head coach, the leaders on that team, no, we go out, there ain't no pressure. We go out and play basketball the way that we need to play. We'll win the game. But you don't need to feel no extra pressure because there's a potential Game 7 in Golden State. No, do what you do. And that's what I want to see. That's what I hear a lot of. And I heard a lot of that this morning. And like you said, it's just people regurgitating stuff.
We got to give Jalen Brunson, Julius Randle, RJ Barrett their flowers. A tremendous job last night to keep things going for the New York Knicks.
Jalen Brunson, 38.
Jalen Brunson, 48.
Julius Randle showed up.
That's the number to me. 48 minutes. We'll come back. We'll talk. We'll get to the the Knicks and the Heat, and obviously we'll talk a lot more about the Lakers. We'll talk about the embarrassment regarding Anthony Davis and the way what happened to him was covered and is being covered this morning. But I want to talk about the Kings when we return. De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis named all NBA third team.
Yeah.
Lots to discuss with that. And we'll do that when D'Lo and Casey return here on Sacramento Sports Leader. D'Lo and Casey brought to you by Sky River Casino on Sacramento Sports Leader, ESPN 1320.
Lizzie, that was crazy. That was a hell of a play by Grimes, man. That was nuts.
He played 48 minutes too.
Yeah, that's the way you got to do it in these games, man. You go with these guys and those players going up to Tibbs. I don't know if they said it or not, but I would have said, "Look, man, I'm willing to go a whole game if you need it. I'm here to. If you think it's best for the team for me to be subbed out, cool. But if you need me to go 48, let's go. Go 48 for the rest of the series."
Tibbs probably held a practice after the game last night.
So, right. I know Stephen Brown. I know he's got to handle. He's got to do some things in the playoffs for sure. Doc Rivers got to do some things in the playoffs, but I do think he's a good coach. I think he's a really good coach.
Doc Rivers has the most losses in elimination games in NBA history.
It'd be a real shame if he lost today.
I love Doc Rivers, and I absolutely believe that he will.
Yeah, there you go, Collins. It's a good point, man. I do need to tell the whole story. Drew down. What's up, Drew? Maybe. Trey Lyles is a good ball player. He might be able to, baby. Alex, I don't know. I guess so. They don't wear orange though. I mean, they wear white as the primary color. That's not gonna get it done. I don't like those. I'm not saying I'd want them to wear orange jerseys. That seems a little crazy. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Stop it, Dr. David. Stop it. I'm a Knicks supporter. There's a difference. A Knicks supporter.
Would you be mad if the Kings lost that game, though?
Yes, absolutely.
All right, just checking.
Absolutely. Kings won always. It's a W. This is a Westbrook shirt. A Westbrook Jordan shirt. I mean, Paul, we can always talk like Doc Rivers. This doesn't really have to be telling the whole story. It doesn't have to be on bump two. It doesn't have to be any of that. Like when you're out there and you're talking about the game that's going on tonight, you got to win.
Matt George coming up in the final hour of the show. Olivia Christian coming up about an hour from now.
Maybach Ho.
She'll be with us. 916-909-1320. If you want to get in on the phone lines, obviously, we would love to hear from you. De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis were named All-NBA third team yesterday, joined LeBron James, Dame Lillard, and Julius Randle to make out that third team squad. First time Sacramento teammates have made the same All-NBA team. This is an incredible validation for this squad, and Jesse had a great note in our rundown today about how the narrative around Sacramento this season doesn't match what we've seen in these postseason acknowledgments, these season awards, from De'Aaron Fox to Mike Brown. Those are fine. I mean, those are great, like not diminishing those at all. But to be named All-NBA, a top 15 player in the National Basketball Association, is a huge deal for any player. It's a huge player. It's a huge deal for De'Aaron and Domas. It's a huge deal for the Sacramento Kings organization. It's validation for what this team is building, for what this organization is building and what they're doing. And it flies in the face of all the smart-ass remarks that were made about this team all throughout the regular season.
Yeah, it's one of those things where sometimes you got to consider the source. You got to consider, who are some of these guys speaking? And also, are they just, trying to be witty and clever? But when it comes down to it, there's no denying some of the things, whether it's Mike Brown as the coach, whether it's like, who was that? That was our guy. Oh, man.
Well, while you're thinking of it, that was John Hollinger.
Hollinger laid out this whole argument, and I don't know if he votes. I'm just kind of assuming. We laid out this whole argument for Mark Dagnall and Bickerstaff or whatever. And when it got down to it, Mike Brown was a unanimous decision for Coach of the Year. So I think a lot. I don't want to call it clickbait. I don't want to say that, but
no, that is what it is. It's
because
clickbait,
it's not meant to be that. Like maybe there isn't.
It's content. Someone's attempting to create
like
content.
I can make an argument of this and that, and I'm gonna write about this argument I can make.
It's like the thing that I read you yesterday about Jeremy Grant. The article was things we don't think will happen. But could. That was just one of the things of Sacramento's creative pursuit of Jeremy Grant. Like it's content. People are finding ways to create content for better or worse. That's the problem. Like there's a line. I don't think Hollinger's article was harmful. He was writing an article like I feel like he said it in this, and I can't remember exactly. I feel like he said, I'm pretty sure Mike Brown is the coach of the year. But here's a reason why Mark Dagnall could be coach of the year. Or here's the reason why, and I think there were 2 or 3 other coaches on the list. I don't think there's any harm in that kind of content, whether it's accurate or not. I think the harm comes when you spend, 2,500 words diminishing what a team did all season, or what a coach did all season that you didn't see.
Well, there is that.
You saw 7 games in the playoffs. You saw the 2 TNT games. So maybe you saw 9 total games or pieces of 9 total games. And you think you have the ability to write about this franchise. You think you have the ability to write about Mike Brown or De'Aaron Fox or Domantas Sabonis.
Right.
Because I don't think you do.
Right. And to be honest with you, a lot of those people ended up voting. So I don't know what that says. I don't know what they're doing half the time, because I can tell for sure that there are people who voted on that award who throughout the season said things that, like, clearly you're not watching the games. So I'm glad you got it right, but like you talked about, people was kind of showing themselves
Yeah.
throughout this season.
Yep.
Absolutely showing themselves,
Yep.
and they got exposed. But that's neither here nor there. The job got done, no matter how we got here or what happened along the way, really. The right things happened. De'Aaron Fox, Domantas Sabonis were rightfully selected to the All-NBA teams. Deservedly so. Great seasons from both of these guys. And then you talked about all the postseason awards, like Jesse talked about. I mean, I thought they were all the right choices for this particular season. So I'm glad to see it.
Yeah, me too. It's an amazing thing for this franchise, and it feels like for the first time in a really, really long time. I'll I'll go to De'Aaron's Instagram post, building blocks. This for the first time feels like, yo, you've got a foundation here. People have always talked about rebuilding. This team has never rebuilt anything because they've never built something in the first place. You can't rebuild something that was never built. But now you're building something. And it's not just the foundation of a squad. Like, you've got the foundation, you got the walls up, you got the whole, like, you've got the second floor, you got the Kenny Caraway loft up there too. Like, you've got this thing, but you might have this thing built. Now you're filling it with nice furniture. And that's where we get into the, conversations, which we will. James wrote a great piece on Trey Lyles that really complements the conversation we had yesterday that we want to bring to your attention here in a few minutes. But this is the first time in a long time where it's like, yeah, when we talk about free agents, you talk about Cam Johnson, you talk about just getting in the room with those guys, getting in the room with their representatives. It's not far-fetched anymore.
Right.
It doesn't seem like a ridiculous thought or a ridiculous sentiment because Monty McNair's got, look at what we're doing. This is what we've done in a short time. You could be a part of what we're doing moving forward.
Yeah. And the other thing about that is, and I know I've talked about, like, I like another star type player here for sure, but you don't necessarily have to have that. When you don't have the foundation, when you don't have building blocks and guys that you can look at as franchise players, that's the tough part. Going out and be like, how do I go get that guy? How Kings 2 years ago, 3 years ago, whatever, like, damn, the original epiphany. Damn, Damian Lillard. How do I get a Damian Lillard here? That's the hard part. Like, sometimes there's only one way for a Sacramento. There is only one way. There is the whole tank and hope you come across that type of guy, or make a trade for a disgruntled star. Hope you have a Chris Webber situation, right? But when you go into an offseason and you go into a free agency and everything else like that with two guys that you already deem as franchise, but now the other parts are a little easier. I say this all the time. I'm not saying this particular guy, but you can go find you a Daniel House. You can go find those guys. You can go find a guy, a Terrence Ross, that's going to, just be a bucket getter for you if that's what you need, if that's what you're looking for. You can go find those guys every year if you're doing your homework and you're strategic with what you're doing. But they haven't ever been able to be in that position, it seems like, where we got the cornerstones. Now we get the pieces around the cornerstones. They were always looking for the cornerstone. Even if you felt like DeMarcus was that guy, he still needed another one. You still needed to find another guy to go with DeMarcus. So this is a place that they're at that you talked about. They can be a destination for somebody. They can be a destination for Jeremy Grant. Jeremy Grant he's not franchise. He's a piece. But he can look at this and be like, I can be a piece, a big time contributing piece to a team that already has their cornerstones, and we can win big. So I love it. I love the fact that they're in this position, and All NBA says something about that to me too, because I was looking at the list of All NBA players in the last 12, 13 years. I mean, it's a real accomplishment. Go back and look at some of these All NBA teams And these are the guys.
Mm-hmm.
These are the guys.
You
of
can't
this
really
era.
sneak on an All-NBA
No.
team. You can sneak on an All-Star team.
Right.
You can't really
Right.
sneak on an All-NBA
No,
team.
man. These are the guys for the last 15 years in the NBA. And to be on that, I went through the list, and there was really only like one name that stood out were
Goran Dragic.
two names that stood
Oh,
two names that stood out. Goran Dragic was one. I
shout
remember
out
I
to
saw
Goran.
that one like, damn.
2014, 13, 14.
Where
Yeah,
is it at? 'Cause I
Goran
just had
Dragic
it
was an
up.
All-NBA. I think he was third
13.
team.
He was 13. Yeah, he's on the same third team where I saw my guy.
Your boy,
Saw Al Jefferson there. I was
Al
like, oh,
Jefferson.
okay.
My
That was,
goodness.
2013, 14, like you said.
Charlotte Bobcats fame.
But
Who remembers the Bobcats?
you got like a handful of guys like that in the last 10, 15 years. Other than that, we're talking Paul George, Dwight Howard, Kevin Love, Kawhi Leonard, Klay Thompson. Even I know he's on here a few times. I want to say like maybe 3 or 4 times. LaMarcus Aldridge.
Mhm.
Like people would think like LaMarcus Aldridge. LaMarcus Aldridge was
I think
he
LaMarcus
was looked at as franchise a lot of the time.
wasn't he on Al Jefferson's team? I think it was LaMarcus, Goran Dragic.
Oh no, well LaMarcus was on there a couple times.
Oh yeah,
on that
LaMarcus.
particular year.
I need to
On that particular year, give me a second where I just had it.
confirm though. When you, I'll let you. It's got to be 2013, 14, 15, somewhere around there.
The team?
Yeah,
Yeah, it was 13, 14.
So it was 13, 14. So
And he is on
just
that
because I don't want to be a jerk. Like Al Jefferson was 21 and 10 that
really
year.
good.
Yeah, it was really good.
Really good.
He was 17 the year before, 16 the year after.
He didn't maintain it. That's the whole thing.
But that year he was really good. Now he had some run earlier in his career with Minnesota where he was really good, and he was in the 20 and 11 range. Like he was a good ball player. That was kind of his last stand right there. I don't know how many All-Pro. It might be worth going back to 2009, 8. He might have a All-Pro nod there. He's 23 and 11 in those.
In 08, 09. No.
23 and 11.
In 08, 09?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Year before, played all 82 games, 21 and 11.
Off the top of my head, I'm not even looking at the numbers. In 08, 09, you said he had 23 and 11.
Yeah.
He should have made it over Shaq. Shaq is third team All-NBA with the Suns.
Oh. The Suns?
That's what I'm saying. I'm not even looking at Shaq's
bro.
number that year. There's no way he was anything close to 23 and 11.
What team did they put him on?
Third team.
And this was 08, 09?
08, 09.
That man made an all. He was 36 years old. Played 75 games. 17 and 8.
Nah, Shaq. Nah, bro. Nah. But I mean, it's Shaquille O'Neal. Like, if you want to put Shaquille O'Neal on another All-NBA team, I
shot
don't,
60% from the field
don't have a problem with that.
and 60% from the field and 59.5% from the free throw line.
The other thing
It dropped
about,
10 points next year in Cleveland. 59 to 40.
wow. The other thing about these All-NBA teams that I also noticed,
Those waning years of Shaq were wild.
they were rough.
Oh my
man.
gosh, they were wild.
And do we ever confirm? Did he tear his Achilles
with Boston?
I
I don't know if he tore his Achilles.
It never really, like, it sounded like he tore his Achilles,
Yeah.
and I think I've heard him reference that on Inside the NBA, but it was never like reported as such.
Yeah, this BR article says he retired because of a torn Achilles.
Okay. Yeah, I don't blame him. I wouldn't want to come
No,
back
I'm
at
done.
38,
Yeah.
like 38 years old.
I'm done.
His size trying to come back after an
Nah,
Achilles
cool.
tear.
But one of the things that I looked at with, and maybe I'm projecting this on these two guys, but I'd say let's just go from 08, 09. That's, my math is off. What's that, about 15 years? Last 15 years?
Yeah,
That's
that's
all
right.
right. I'd say 90% of these guys are going to make the Hall of Fame.
Mm.
Like your Al Jeffersons, your Goran Dragic,
Draymond
he's on the mind. We'll get to that in a second. But
Oof.
DeAndre Jordan
Yeah.
is on. I think he was a first teamer one time.
He was.
Joakim Noah.
That was very DeAndre Jordan, hell of a ball player. That was very Joe wasn't around. Jokic wasn't around. That was very
that's when the center was dead.
We've got to have a center.
Yeah, the center was dead.
And DeAndre Jordan.
No shade to DeAndre.
No, and DeAndre, I'm guessing Clippers, right? Probably led the league in field goal efficiency.
Field goal efficiency. He's probably up there with blocks. He was probably up there in rebounds. Like he was a force for about 2 or 3 years.
Probably shot 80% from the field, just catching lobs from Chris Paul at the rim.
Yeah. But the point being, I mean, there's guys like that here and there that you can look at and be like, they're not Hall of Famers. I remember when they were really good. Like I said, Joakim Noah. Joakim Noah in one of those years was like then MVP consideration.
Yeah, he was really good
on one of those years.
Really,
but
really good.
For the most part, all these guys are like Hall of Famers. That's what the All NBA is all about. Like that's the significance of Fox and Sabonis getting this recognition right now. They can put in there. The other thing is they're young enough where they can build on this and maybe have 2 or 3 seasons of All NBA productivity. When I went back and looked at, the guys that got this honor, it got even bigger for me, just seeing like some of the guys on these lists in the past.
19 All NBA selections for LeBron James. That's phenomenal. That is absolutely phenomenal. 7 for Dame Lillard, 9 for Steph Curry, 7 for Giannis Antetokounmpo, 5 for Joe, 5 for Jokic, 2 for Julius Randle, 4 for Luka Doncic, 3 for Jayson Tatum.
Didn't Luka, and I don't think he should have been first team, but that's another discussion. But isn't he like the 3rd player in NBA history to be first team all 4 years? His first 4 years, or 4?
I'd imagine.
I saw some kind of stat about that. I don't know if it's the first 4, but I think it's Luka, Kevin Durant, and then like some guy named Max Poloski or something like that.
Yeah, Luka made his first All-NBA team in the 2019-2020 season. So maybe the idea is the first time he was named to it.
Yeah, his first 4 All-NBA selections
are first
teamers.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
You have a problem with that? Shea got his first selection this year, and it was a first-teamer.
Yeah, Luka, I wouldn't. It's nothing to go crazy about and rage and have outrage. I would have had Donovan on that first team over Luka.
And apologies, I didn't mean to leave Jimmy Butler out. That's 5 All-NBA selections for Jimmy Butler. What caught my attention a second ago, this is Donovan's first All-NBA team. Donovan Mitchell and De'Aaron Fox made their first All-NBA teams at the same time. Would anybody have placed money on that?
I wouldn't.
That this was Donovan's first All-NBA team?
I would have thought he at least had one. Good for him, man. Congratulations for him. I like Donovan Mitchell.
I'm sorry, man. Chris Paul made it last year. He has 11. I'm just hung up on 19 All-NBA selections for LeBron James.
That's amazing.
That is phenomenal. That has to be the most, right? I mean, the only person who could even be in the conversation is probably Kareem.
I thought I saw, and you said 19. I guess
because I don't think Dirk would have done it, and I don't.
How long is LeBron playing?
It's LeBron by like 4. Kobe's got 15. Kareem's got 15. So LeBron's
Kareem's 15. Wow. Okay. I was just trying to think of guys that played 20 years.
LeBron's played 20 years, and there was only his rookie year where he didn't get All NBA.
Must be it. This is his rookie year. Oh,
that's unbelievable. How many Jordan got?
Oh, let me look.
How
11.
Long did Jordan play?
He got 11.
He played what? 15 years?
I don't know. His last one was 90. Let me make sure. 97, 98. None of these Wizards years made All NBA.
So not the 2 Wizards years. Not the year he came back in the middle of the season, and not the year he broke his foot. I think those are the only times he didn't make All NBA.
Yeah, so 90. Yeah, his first team. Why am I doing this the hard way?
Mike was probably
just click
first
on
team
that
every year.
Well, that's it. Well, that's what I was going to look.
Damn.
All NBA first team. It's All Star. All NBA first team 10 times.
Yeah, he was second team once.
Second team once.
Maybe his rookie year. I wonder when that was.
All defensive team. All defensive first team.
7 times.
9 times. 9 times.
That is stupid. That is stupid.
Lord have mercy.
How you gonna be the best player in the league and the best defensive player more times
9
than not?
times.
That is stupid.
You know, I had to look. LeBron James, all defensive first team.
I'm gonna guess 3 times.
5 times.
Oh, okay.
5 times. 13-time first team, 3-time, and I don't even know if this is updated. Oh, he didn't make first team yesterday. So all NBA first team 13 times, 3 times second, 3 times third. And that is counting yesterday's.
Jordan's rookie year was 84, 85.
Yes.
45.
That's there. He made second team then.
He made second.
So
team.
he didn't make any team his second year where he broke his foot.
Yeah. Damn.
Man.
And then once again he came back. He came back with like 19 games left in 94, 95. So that counts as a year he didn't make
That's
it.
right. Yeah. Yeah.
Damn. Like that's
That boy Mike is good.
That's kind of crazy.
That boy Mike is good.
That's kind of
That boy Mike is good. 9 all defensive selections is crazy.
Can you see when his first was? When his first and his last? Because it feels like he probably got him in a row.
His first all
defensive.
defensive selection, first team, his first one was in
87.
1987. He went from 1987 to 1993. Then went from 1996 to 1998 as a first team.
Damn, there's all from 87. He was all NBA first team, defense first team.
Sorry. That was all NBA first team. I apologize.
Okay,
That was all NBA first team.
Okay. I don't know if they.
This is the same thing.
Oh, Mike. From
It's the same
87,
exact thing. It's
he
not
was
87. It's not 87. It's 88. That's the difference. That's where the one is off. It's
80. Well, 80. So
it-
88 is the year when he won MVP and defensive player of the year.
Yeah, so he didn't make the all defensive team in 87. The all
And-
defensive first team in
And
87.
got pissed
and
off and won
defensive player of the year the next year. Yep. That boy Mike is crazy.
And the random stat: Elgin Baylor's the only guy to go 10 All NBA selections, 10 first team.
Elgin Baylor
Wow.
is one.
Nobody else
That's
has
a good
nobody else has
note.
done that.
I never seen him and I don't understand it. But when you like, sometimes I remember watching this with like Mike. Sometimes with like, when Mike would score a lot or something like that, they'd be like, "Oh, it's the most points per game in the playoffs since Elgin Baylor," or the most single game points scored in the playoffs since Elgin. But like Elgin Baylor before Jordan was all over the top of the record books.
Yeah, it's Elgin and then Mike. Like I said, he did 10 and 1 second team. Larry did 9 first team, 1 second team.
These Jordan accolades are a bit wild. We did the all NBA first team, the all NBA defensive team, first defensive team. The scoring champ follows the same years, 87 to 93, break 96 to 98.
Jeez. The thing I think about all the time with Mike is like, I don't think people understand why, because of the way the game is played now and what we see on a nightly basis now. Michael Jordan had to feel like an alien at that time. Mike literally moved like the players move now in
Damn.
88.
Yeah.
Nobody had ever seen nothing like that. Nobody had ever seen, nobody was moving like that. Nobody was doing nothing like that. He moved like the players now in 88. Mike was, he was an alien.
This is
Wasn't
so
real.
funny in the context of The Last Dance. He doesn't make all NBA defense in 87, gets pissed off, and goes and wins the NBA Defensive Player of the Year award. That is extraordinary. We'll come back. Bad news for Suns fans. Deandre Ayton out for Game 6.
Ooh.
Season on the line for the Phoenix Suns. They'll have to do it without their big man. We'll come back. James wrote a lengthy article about Trey Lyles. He was talking to us about that yesterday. I want to bring some of that to the conversation here. Olivia Christian on the way. We'll talk much more NBA as the day progresses. 916-909-1320 if you want to get in on the conversation. Seasonal KC brought to you by Sky River Casino with 17 different restaurants and bars to choose from. Sky River Casino has something for everyone, from casual quick bites in the market at Sky River to fine dining at SR Prime. More here on ESPN 1320. Oh, yeah. Tell Maddie sorry. We'll get him right after.
Hey, sure. What is, first of all, I'm assuming it's mushy. Shout out Uncle Al. Big ups. I think rings play a part. I don't think they're the end all be all, but I think they play
part
a
of
part.
the conversation.
They play a part.
It's part of the conversation.
And who are what size? Who you guys sure? Who? Once again, it could be Uncle Danny, but I'm assuming it's mushy. Who does he have as the GOAT? If that didn't come from him, you probably would hear that sound drop.
Yeah, that dude don't get no drops.
Nah, Ramsey, that's crazy, bro. That's crazy.
You know
he didn't even
funny?
shoot the 3-ball, bro.
Didn't Harden get close to that one year?
Yeah.
Harden got like 34, right?
I thought it was 30. I thought it was like 36.
He got that high? 36?
I think so. That could be wrong, though. That could be wrong. I might have made that up trying to give James Harden a little extra love.
Wow.
Yeah, he had 36 in 18-19 season.
Yeah, I knew he had a monster.
He didn't win MVP that year, I don't think, right?
18-19.
Isn't that the year Giannis got it?
It might have been. Yeah, 18-19 was Giannis. Because he got 18-19 and 19-20.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That feels like one they got wrong.
Yeah, man. I'm for sure out there. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, season winding down. We're about to do All-Stars, but I'll be out there.
Cheryl said Bill Russell had 11 rings. So I think
Cheryl says Bill Russell and Unc says MJ. I'm going with MJ on that one, Cheryl. I'm going with MJ. Bill Russell 11 ring is kind of crazy though. Like I know we kind of scoff at it because it's like who was playing and the people he had on his teams, but damn, that is 11.
Someone's got to win them.
It's not like he has 7. You know what I mean? Like 11 rings is a lot. And Bill Russell, the one thing I'll say about Bill Russell is he seems to be the reason. Everywhere he went, he won. Seems to be the reason.
Here's your odd stat of the day. Bill Russell has more MVP awards than all NBA first team selections.
That's crazy.
5-3.
That's crazy.
He has 5 MVP awards, 3 all first team selections. I'm just going to have someone explain that to me.
Right. What was the stat that we read when we were the day after Bill Russell passed, where he was like 23-0 in championship winning games?
Yeah.
It was something crazy.
It might have been game 7s or something like that.
But it went to college. Like any championship on the line, he was like 23-0 or something like that. Or any series deciding game, something like that. I don't think he lost.
So did he win? He didn't win 11 straight, did he?
No, I don't think it was 11 straight.
Oh, he just wasn't in the title games those years. Who did Jerry West finally beat? Jerry West would be destroyed in today's world.
Poor Jerry West.
Jerry West would be
Episode
destroyed in
2
today's
anytime.
media. Just absolute. Like Jerry West's nickname is Mr. Clutch, and I think he's 1 of 8 in finals.
Yeah.
He would be eviscerated by Stephen A. Smith and Charles Barkley and Shaquille O'Neal.
Which would be absolutely ridiculous.
It would be.
Jerry
It
West
is
phenomenal.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
But
Jerry West is phenomenal. He was a phenomenal ball player.
DeAndre Ayton out tonight for the Phoenix Suns. They're
That
winning
is
without
not
Chris. You know,
good.
they won a couple of games without Chris Paul. Chris Paul's obviously he's not playing tonight. Tough break for Phoenix, man.
Yeah.
Tough break for Phoenix. I'm not of the belief they can't get the job done. But man, that's just a tough break for them.
Yeah, I don't see how they get it done for this series. Did we ever figure out why he's out?
Was it
Rib contusion.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how that.
I don't
Like
know
if you can't go, I don't know how that gets better.
Yeah,
in 2 days. I
I-
don't know how they win the series. without him.
Yeah, I could see them winning tonight. I
Right.
can't see them winning twice in a row.
Right.
916-909-1320. Let's get our brother Matty in here. Matty, what's going on, brother?
Hey, what's up, brothers? How you doing?
Good, man. How you doing, bro?
Man, I'm chilling. Yeah, so I was listening to you guys a little bit earlier talk about, you don't need the Kings really don't need a third star.
Didn't say that.
you know,
Didn't
how-
say that. Didn't say that. But
how
go
you-
ahead.
Nah, that's what you said, bro. So
No,
I'm
I
gonna
said
call you
that.
out.
Wait a minute, Maddie. I'll let you finish. But I said they're not in desperate need of it like they were.
No,
in the
I
past.
know. I'm just messing with you.
I know.
But,
It's good, Maddie. You good, man.
yeah.
You my man.
So, I was thinking about, because I know you mentioned disgruntled stars, and one guy that kind of came to the top of my head was Zach LaVine, and I know he was in some trade rumors earlier this deadline. If the Bulls came and they decided to blow it up, and they asked for Keegan Murray straight up for LaVine, maybe throwing some other names for salary cap matching, but. Would that be a guy that you would deal for?
Not for that price.
Yeah, not for
that
Keegan,
price.
man. Not for Keegan. Zach LaVine has some knee issues as well. I love Zach LaVine. Like I'd love to have Zach LaVine in Sacramento.
Yeah, it's just
But
not for
Not
that
for
price.
that price. Zach LaVine has some knee issues, like I said. We could talk about a lot of other things. I would give up a lot to get Zach LaVine. I don't think Keegan's on that list. And obviously Fox and Sabonis aren't either. But if you wanted some draft picks, if you wanted some other guys on the roster,
But even draft picks, plural, or at some point you got to be talking about second round picks.
Yeah.
I don't know that I'd give up multiple first round picks for Zach LaVine.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'd give up this year's.
Well, I think you'd have to draft the player,
Yeah,
right?
but you know what I mean by
Trade
that.
the player.
I'd put that this year's in there. Maybe, some seconds. And a player that plays. Like I'm not trying to trade him off here, but I'm saying the price would probably be, if you're not going to give Keegan, Davion, maybe Herter, Rashawn, something like that.
I don't know that I'd move Herter.
He'd be your starting 2 guard, LaVine.
Can't play 3?
No, I don't think so.
Well, as long as you leave Malik Monk alone,
Malik
I'm fine.
Personally, Malik ain't in the trade conversations. Period.
Malik is in the De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis vault, as far as I'm concerned.
Milwaukee, like, yo, you trying to move off of Giannis? All we want is Malik. No deal.
No deal. That's right. Sorry, I'm sorry. I'm gonna need to see Giannis throw the 3 up. I need him to throw it straight, throw it sideways, throw it down. Then we can evaluate. Until then, it's a no-go, bro. Sorry. Keegan's only a player that you include if you're talking about a seismic trade. Not that, like, Zach LaVine's a good ball player, but Zach LaVine's in trade discussions for multiple reasons.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Zach LaVine's a really good basketball player.
Yeah.
But there is a reason he's involved in trade discussions, and I don't think it's necessarily being disgruntled. I think it's that organization trying to figure out where they're going, and it's those injuries that you were talking about. It's those knee issues that you were talking
X
about.
factor for me.
Yeah.
If he was, a healthy ball player, or to like if he had the health history of DeMar DeRozan, then I'd make the trade for Keegan, but he doesn't.
Yeah, Keegan is he's as close to in the vault as you can be. I think we outlined that earlier this week.
He's in his, he's down there in that area.
He's in a
where the
special
vault is.
room. Like it's like it's the room to get to the vault. That so you're not in the general population room, right?
Yeah.
Like you're in the room headed to the vault, but you still have access. You don't need a key card to get in
It's
there.
almost like the airport, when you're leaving the terminal at Sacramento National, there's a door, then there's space, and then there's another door.
Yeah.
Keegan's in the space.
Yeah. Jesse, ask that question you just text.
All right. If Keegan averages 17 to 20 points per game next season, do you need that third player?
No, I don't think so. I mean, if
That is the third player, right?
If he putting up 17 to 20, that's it.
We finally know the third man.
Yeah, but whose side is he on?
I think he'd be with us.
That's it.
We know the third man.
I think that's something that's possible too for him next season. Like if his three's going and he gets a little bit more game inside and stuff like that, like I think he can do that.
With Keegan, is it aggressiveness? Is it shot making? Like what will get that total from what 12 to
let's just say
18, 17? Okay.
He's got to be more aggressive, and he's got to have a little more variance in his game. Generally, creating off the bounce, being able to create off the bounce by himself. I think that's where when people talk about Middleton a lot, I think that's where Middleton's game evolved. He was able to get shots off the bounce and also get to the foul line because of that as well. That's the next level that would get Keegan there at 17, 18 points a game, in my opinion. And, I remember, I think it was Drapes and Mark Jones were talking about Keegan's dad says he has that. He's got that. He's got to find a way to show it, but he's got that in his game. And if he does, we got action. We got action. He showed, I don't know if he has that in his game right now, the type of confidence that Mr. Murray had in it. But he showed me some things later in the season, and specifically in that playoff series, where it was like, all right, he got a little more movement than maybe I saw at the beginning of the season with the ball, being able to, get open and find different ways to get his shot off. I see something there. I see something. Is this something that can continue, that he can build off of? Hopefully, but I do see something.
You think he evolved during the regular season?
I do. Yeah, I do. Absolutely.
James wrote a fantastic piece regarding Trey Lyles yesterday for the Kings Beat. He talked about that piece a little bit with us prior to it posting. And, listening to Trey, reading the quotes, there's video, attached to it about, all of those things he said in the locker room about, the De'Aaron Fox and his birthday party and the clear, obvious connection that Trey Lyles had with this Sacramento Kings team. It's a pretty dope listen. I think Trey Lyles is one of those guys universally liked by Kings fans. I think there's so many great components to him. I think fans love when a player outperforms their contract the way that Trey Lyles did. And Trey Lyles felt so important to what Trey Lyles won games for Sacramento. He was an integral part of many of Sacramento's wins. And it feels like a no-brainer that Trey is back here, given Trey Lyles' desire to come back, given the movement that without knowing a single shred of Monty McNair's thinking, Kings have the availability to do it, especially at a probably rather reasonable, more expensive than last contract, but still a reasonable contract.
Right.
And then his play this season, like it all fits, it all works. The thing I just keep getting hung up on is the Sasha stuff. And James laid out at the very end of yesterday's conversation, like how financially, I think he used Sasha, Trey, HB, and maybe it was Kelly Oubre. How he can you can make all of that work financially.
That'd be a good look.
Cool. What I can't figure out is practically how does it work? And we saw Trey a lot at the 4 this year. And we saw the team, particularly in a important moment against the Golden State Warriors, play the small ball 5 a lot. We actually saw him play the small ball 5. I don't want to say regularly throughout the season, but we did see it.
Yeah.
It feels like if there's a combination of those 3 guys that we just mentioned back, the idea is Trey Lyles is the small ball 5.
Absolutely.
And might get a substantial, they might commit to that a little bit more than they did this year.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that screams 2 things. One, they're not going to overreact to not having a rim protector. Or perhaps Neemias, my guy, winds up being that rim protector. 2, they're also not overreacting to Kevon Looney and the offensive rebounds they gave up in Game 7 in particular, but in the series against the Golden State Warriors.
Yeah, because the thing about that is Game
also
7,
shout out Kevon Looney. I hope he's okay. I'm still confused. I'm so confused. Like that. Like I hope whatever sickness has got him, like a sickness that relegates him to 10 minutes per game. I hope whatever that is, he's cool, because that's so odd.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever heard of this before.
And the fact that he's just playing.
He's sick. He can play,
right?
But he can only play 10 minutes.
It's a trip.
I have not heard that. I've never heard a minutes restriction on a sickness before.
Right. For a week.
For a week. A week.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But to your point, though, I think they're okay with it, because even with the Looney situation, that didn't happen with like your backup. It wasn't like Trey Lyles was out there and that's why Looney got all those boards. He got all those boards because he was just in a zone. He was going up against Sabonis when he was doing a lot of that. So that's just something that you got to fix as with the team as a whole, whether you have Keita playing or Trey Lyles. Like it did, to me, it didn't affect anything. So yeah, you have Trey Lyles as your backup 5. You have Sasha
who can
playing
steal minutes at the 4.
Absolutely. So
just probably not his primary minutes anymore.
Right. In situations where Keita is going, you can figure out, am I going to go with Lyles or am I going to go with Sasha? The other thing about it too, Damian, is I don't think this is a one-time thing, but the relationship and the understanding and the what's the word I'm looking for? The dedication to the team aspect that these group of guys had this year, I feel like it may be able to be duplicated. So Lyles, as important as he was for this team, would go games without playing. Like he'd go stretches without playing at all. And we'd be like, man, Trey Lyles, what happened to him? A lot of guys it happened like that for. Metu,
Chemezi, yeah.
TD, guys just wouldn't play for a while. And maybe Coach Brown and the front office get with Trey Lyles when it's time to negotiate and be like, man, we really want you here. We're not going to lie to you. It may look like it did last time a little bit, where maybe you go a week and a half without playing. But depending on the matchups, depending on how things are going, we'll get you back in there. We did it. You got in the playoffs.
But in that scenario that you laid out, wouldn't that be really, really rare? Because if Trey, it's the backup 5, he's playing. Now there might be games where he doesn't play.
That's what I'm saying.
Rather than stretches.
Right.
Like I can't envision a scenario where there's stretches he doesn't play.
Right.
Because I mean, I like Neemias Queta. Like I hope he's a guy on this squad. I hope he's a guy who can work out. I understand he's still, still a young player, still has some shortcomings, but he's a big body. And I mean, I don't know, Steven Adams versus Trey Lyles doesn't feel like the best idea, But and there could, Joel versus Trey Lyles doesn't feel like the best idea. But we saw Neemias Queta versus Joel too. So and that wasn't the best.
Right.
Threw that poor brother out there for the first time against Joel Embiid, and like, hey,
didn't he get like 3 fouls in like a minute?
Essentially, Mike Brown essentially hit him with a. Not bad. Probably shouldn't have done that. Take a seat, brother. You did good, pal. You did good. Have a seat.
But I'm looking. So this is inexact science, I understand, but I'm looking at a stretch of games here with let's see, Oklahoma City. They don't really have a backup five that you'd have to worry about. Philadelphia, they don't really have a backup five you have to worry about. Memphis, you're looking at Tillman, something like that. Toronto, they're a little bigger, but like the whole point, I can list down this whole little list of teams, but the whole point is for, like you mentioned, for one game, yeah, maybe you might match up Queta, but for a series of games, you could absolutely get by with Trey Lyles being that small ball five. And I think that's where I definitely think that's where they are going to be leaning. Like, I don't think you had 2, 3 damn near 7-footers on your bench this year and you never played them. So, yeah, go into the whole season with maybe one as a security blanket in Queta, but we're going for shooting and, flexibility on these lineups. And Trey Lyles gives us that.
Yeah, he definitely does. You're listening to D-Lo and KC on KIFM West Sacramento 98.5 FM, KRXQ HD2 Sacramento, ESPN 1320, always live on the free Odyssey app, live in visual form as well on twitch.tv/ESPN 1320, youtube.com/ESPN 1320. You can also catch us on your Twitter and Facebook timelines as well. Plenty of different ways to watch the show. Olivia Christian going to join us coming up in about 10 minutes. Matt George will join us. Matt George, host of the Locked On Kings podcast, does great work over at ABC 10 as well. Just posted a new podcast with our buddy Chris Biederman that's available for you now. So we'll talk to Matt coming up in the final hour of the show. Get his thoughts on all this. James had another great line in the article that said Lyles is the type of role player good teams have on their roster. And I think of how many times we've looked at a player in a Sacramento Kings uniform and thought, man, this guy's really good. Bring him back next year, but ask him to do more. And we sabotage these players because they'll produce for a year in a role. Oh, that was really good. We're going to give you a bigger role now because we want you to produce more. And unless somebody can think of a different time, like that failed. It always failed. It's because you're asking people to do something that they're not. Like they succeeded in that role because that's the perfect role for them. I feel like with Trey Lyles, if you're bringing him back, you're bringing him back for the role that he played this year, maybe a slightly modified version of that role, but you're not asking him to do too much. You're not asking him to do anything that you haven't already seen him do.
Right. And
to me, that's one of the most positive things that the Kings organization has going for them this offseason is unless, that Siakam, OG Anunoby type deal is out there, you're not asking anyone to come in here and kind of step outside of themselves.
Right.
You're asking, hey, do what you do. Yeah. That's why you're here. We got De'Aaron here. We got 2 All-NBA players here. We got 2 All-Stars here. We got the Coach of the Year here. We got the Executive of the Year here. We got the 3rd seed in the Western Conference. We're going to be better next year. We're going to be better with you here. And you actually have a sales pitch now rather than, hey, we're Sacramento. We got more money than they do. Like that's the only thing you could sell before is that you might have more money than somebody else. We got a nice arena.
Noco's nice.
Sac's cool when people talk crazy about Sac, but people like it. Like you don't have to do that. Like you could focus everything on basketball and being successful. And if Monty really want to puff his chest out, yo, we're next. We're next. Warriors are done. Even though they might have won back-to-back titles by the time this conversation is being had. Yeah. Warriors are done.
Do it now. While they're down 3-2. Talk to Trey now.
Talk to all the free agents now. Start free agency now while the Warriors are down 3-2. but you have the ability to puff your chest out in a way that no general manager in this organization since Jeff Petrie has had the ability to do.
You know, when you brought that up, asking people to do more, the first person that came to my mind was Marcus Thornton. And
that poor brother.
It felt like,
man,
Marcus Thornton, which is crazy. Like, I'm looking at his numbers right now. He got traded to the Kings, didn't start any games in 46 games for the Hornets, averaged 7.8. Came to the Kings and in 27 games started 23 times and averaged 21 points a night. I mean, damn, right? Like 21 points a night for Marcus Thornton. I really liked him too. And the next year he averaged 18. And I feel like, I don't know if that's when he got paid, or he might have got paid after the 21 point per game season, or it might have been afterwards. But the whole point of it is, like, I feel like that's somebody that they ask, like, hey, we need you to be a leader. We need you to anchor, this perimeter offense that we're trying to have. And, like, that's not who he was. Like, Marcus Thornton was essentially kind of like Malik Monk, and you look at Trey Lyles, you look at a guy like Malik Monk. You guys come back here, you don't have to do anything different or more than what you did. We just want you here. We want you here for who you are, for what you bring to the table, and that's it. And like you mentioned, that's not something that they've had the ability to do in a while. They've always asked somebody, hey, I know you're a role player, but come here, we'll give you a greater role. Yeah. I know you want to be, you're a seventh man here, and I know you want to be a starter. We're giving you that opportunity to do all that. And that just failed miserably.
Yeah, it's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
Absolute disaster. The NBA just posted the All-NBA voting totals and ballots and all that stuff and who voted for who. And I was trying to see if De'Aaron got any first-team votes, and he did. He got one. And I'm trying to find out who it is.
I know who it is.
Give it to me.
It's Mike Wilbon.
Hey! Our buddy Mike Wilbon.
Mike Wilbon. Mike got ties to Sacramento. Know that personally. Got ties, man, and he wanted to see the Kings do well. I know he watched a lot of Kings basketball. He's in Phoenix, so it's not that much of a stretch. But Mike Wilbon.
Mike does enjoy Sacramento. He enjoys this city for sure.
Yeah. So Mike Wilbon seemed to be the guy.
33. Domas didn't get any first team votes though. His position, that shouldn't be surprising at all. De'Aaron got one first team vote. 33 second team votes. Domantas Sabonis got 22 second team votes. Domas got 69 third place votes. What are you laughing at?
Because I know our chat. I know what's coming.
And
wow.
See, come on down. Now that's you guys. That's you guys.
40 third team votes for De'Aaron Fox.
That's dope. I feel
LeBron just barely made the cut. LeBron was the lowest total of anyone who made an All-NBA team.
LeBron was out a lot.
He was. So I exaggerated a little bit. LeBron had 81 total points. It is the lowest of anyone who made the teams. Ja was kind of the first man out. He only got 44 votes. I'm sorry, he only got 44 points. Whether you agree with this or not, I don't think that was Ja's play. I think people were turned off by Ja Morant. I think voters were turned off by Ja Morant.
For sure.
Again, you can argue whether that's okay or not, but I think that that's a he wasn't even close.
No. And the people who voted, at least I think they voted. As soon as it happened, they were all on their podcast and writing this is probably going to keep him off the All-NBA.
Yeah.
It was immediate when all that happened. So, a hard lesson learned for Ja. Hopefully,
Hopefully, it's a lesson learned for Ja.
Yeah, hopefully he becomes better off all this. But yeah, he lost some dough. The other thing, real quick, about that is I wanted to ask you: do you see how many votes Devin Booker got? Was he close at all? Is he on the list? Or
Devin Booker got 1 second-team vote and 7 third-team votes. No, he was behind Ja, Drew Holiday, and your boy Jalen Brunson.
Because that's a name that we saw out there as far as like people worried about him getting on ahead of Fox. And
I was personally worried about Tyrese Halliburton in Indiana. He got 1 third-team vote, the same amount that Trey Young got.
Well.
Ah, well.
Oh, well.
Win-win, right, everybody? Win-win. We'll come back. Maybach O joins us next here on Sacramento Sports Leader, ESPN 1320.
While we're talking about votes and stuff like that, Mark Jackson was the one who left Jokic off.
I just saw that.
He was one of the top
Mark,
5?
Yeah.
That's whack.
Yeah.
That is whack.
He had Joe, Giannis, Tatum, Shea, and Donovan.
Stop, bro. Stop.
Mark's had an answer for that.
Yeah, Shea's kind of like that's at the expense of Jokic. That's a little.
There's no way you can leave Jokic off.
Yeah, that's a little too much. Let's clear the screen and bring in Olivia. Hi, Olivia. We're matching.
Hi.
We're both wearing like bright yellow colors.
I did not get the memo.
Damien said he liked this jacket on one of my videos, so I wore it.
Yeah, I love that jacket. I love that.
How's my video coming in?
Looks great. Yeah.
Am I strong? Okay.
Spiral staircases. It's perfectly
Are they
visible.
washing the windows today?
No, I told Alex that I talked about. Alex isn't my personal window washer. He's the building's window washer, but I told him I talked about him. No, it's super great here. I didn't know this before moving to LA that there's a thing called May gray and June gloom. It's
I knew that.
Very overcast, but it's kind of warm. It's very earthquake weather, but warm but overcast.
I realized normally this is where I'm planning my trip to the beach in Southern California. I'm not going this year though. Going.
Playoffs mess everything up for him.
No, I'm saving money. I'm saving money for it because August pretty much ate up any budget I have. Hey, I was agitated before the show started and didn't have an opportunity to text you this. So we're not on the air yet. We're just on the video stream. Is the JJ Perk stuff you wrote about, is that new or is that the old stuff?
It's the old stuff, but it just relates in my mind to people's shock that Black people consider and take into consideration that there could be racist undertones.
Got you. These all roll together. Okay, I got you. Okay, I smell what you're cooking.
And I actually was going to text you about that, but I didn't want it to be too much before you got on air. So.
No, I don't know why I didn't compute that because I see what you wrote, and then I'm like, maybe because the MVP was so recent, I was like, but now that I'm reading it with what you said, like, oh, I see it. That makes complete sense.
Casey, what does your sweatshirt say? That little, I can't tell.
What does what say?
Your sweatshirt, that little box.
It's a Westbrook shirt,
which looks stunningly similar to the old WWF logo.
F right there.
Yeah, but you had to get the F out. So
to get the F out, this is what it would look like if they didn't change the logo and had to get the F out.
That's right. Yep. They have some. I think John Cena did some merch with that block logo without the F. Yeah, them beaches in San Francisco are so freaking cold, man.
You won't never ever catch me on a beach in San Francisco.
So cold.
I ain't doing it. That is not the beach. That is Antarctica.
It's beach on a budget. It's like I want the ocean, but man, just gonna go here.
The funny thing is that's what like.
Oh no, I feel like you guys are glitching.
Oh, that's crazy because you're Perfect.
Yeah, you're
4K.
4K.
That's what tripped me out about.
Just reset. You have a minute. Go ahead. You reset if you want to.
About
you
the LA beaches. When I went down there, I was like, "Oh, you can be on the beach and it be warm? What? This is crazy."
What are you doing in there? People get in there, don't even know that we're broadcasting them live to the world right there. Look at that. Charlie, look at that.
Wow.
YouTube.com. She's like, wait a minute, is this on?
She looks like she's up to something.
She is. She does not have any business in there.
Where's my Hershey's cookies and cream? That's all that really matters.
We have people invading our studio. Go ahead, Jesse.
She's recording liners for us right now. Voice of 1320.
Oh, the voice of 1320. Okay, well, go on about your business then.
I see you.
Go on about your business then.
Okay.
That was
doing work.
I'm so sorry. We're a radio show. That was very, very visual. So my sincerest apologies to those on the radio and on 98.5 FM HD2 and the Odyssey app. Just know we appreciate you consuming this show wherever you decide to consume it. Maybe Echo will be with us here in just a quick second.
She will. We're gonna obviously talk about this a little later, but while we're not doing 3 hours on it, schedule is starting to trickle out. Niner schedule is the only thing I'm really concerned about.
Mm-hmm.
Damn, my holidays are going to be interesting.
I saw that.
Let's eat early, everybody. Let's eat early.
Yeah, the schedule release is so funny. I saw I think it's my ESPN Daily podcast. I'll read the title of it to you. It made me laugh. Here it is. And I want to see who. Oh shoot! Don't start playing. I want to see who did this. Well, I can't. Well, crap. But the title of the show is called "How the NFL Schedule Release Has Turned into the League's Met Gala."
Oh my! Come on, man.
Like, hold up.
Come on, man. Why do you do this?
Now, hold up. I get the point that you're trying to make, like, because the social media videos now are pretty crazy. But like 80% of the schedule is out right now. It's not an event. It's not a thing. You're right. We'll get back to it.
Until they have Janelle Monáe reading the schedules. This is nothing like the Met Gala.
Well, just wait.
Shout out to her.
Oh, shout out to Rihanna.
Shout out to Rihanna. I don't think you understand what I'm talking about.
He doesn't.
Janelle Monáe? I guess I don't. What I miss? What I miss?
I have no clue.
What I miss?
We'll talk about during the break. Send it to him, Jesse.
Was that the Met Gala?
Yeah.
Oh man. All right. Hi, Olivia. Sorry about that.
Maybe
Hey.
Olivia, the game last night available on YouTube. And you can see her conversations with Dave Stewart. Did you drop the other one? Question mark. The first one?
Yeah, with Kenny Mayne. The Kenny Mayne interview that I did back in September, and Jesse was kind enough to edit. Yes, they're actually both of those interviews are available on Spotify as well. If you want to just not have to look at my big forehead, but you want to hear a great conversation with two very open guys.
I have
Spotify too.
A question about your Dave Stewart conversation.
Sure.
It was on video. Was he standing the whole time?
I couldn't tell. I didn't ask him. He was a little flustered.
Absolutely looked like he was just standing like this the entire interview. And I was like, wow, that's a hell of a approach there.
I thought he was I know what you're talking about. I thought he was like sitting on like a higher chair.
Like
he
had his feet on the ground. So it's
he looked very
Stewart, but it looks like this, like his feet were on the ground, like a bar stool almost, and his feet are on the ground.
Oh, okay.
That's what it. I know what you're talking about.
Maybe he just didn't have any armrests like us, and he didn't know what to do with his hands.
That's so nice of you that you both checked it out. At least dipped in. I mean, it's a long conversation. He and I talked for 30 minutes, and I first interviewed him 5 years ago. Why are you laughing?
Why are you surprised we watched your podcast?
Well, you have a lot of stuff to do. You have a show to produce every day, 4 hours. I'm always like, well, if people
I do.
If people can squeeze it in, it's dope. But the first time I interviewed him was
I tell you, boy. I tell you. You think I don't be catching nothing, but I catch it all. I catch everything. Every single thing.
You gonna catch something at 4:00, boy.
I catch every single thing.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'm glad you do. But of course, we watched your podcast. We wouldn't miss it. We're glad they finally dropped.
yeah. Well, yeah.
We're
he
glad
was very
they finally
quick.
dropped. Also, we're sorry.
Why
They
are
were
you
supposed
sorry?
to drop a long time ago. This was supposed to be a big thing. The game last night, Cap, with D'Lo, brought to you by D'Lo and KC and all these different things, and it just didn't materialize the way we wanted. But
Yeah.
you do
Well,
good
Dave-
interviews. You do.
Thank you. Dave and I talked a week ago. It was last Wednesday. I messaged him and he was like, yeah, I want to talk to you about the potential of the A's moving and who to blame. And he reminds me of Kenny, actually. Very chill, very kind. Like, there's no one to blame in this situation. And I'm like, are you sure? Can we be mad at? And he's like, no.
Yeah,
Two sides to every story.
That really kind of surprised me.
I thought he'd go a little bit harder in on the ownership or the mayor's side and the city side. It has been a long time coming. These conversations have been going on forever. The Coliseum has been crumbling steadily for years. I think recently they had that video of like a muskrat or a possum or something in the press room, so the press couldn't even go. It's like, oh my.
In the broadcasting booth.
Just
People
ridiculous.
are trying to broadcast the game. The possum has just decided to live there.
Just pathetic. So I thought he would have some anger about him. But he was very cool years ago, and he was very cool last week. And he just really loves talking about baseball. As much as I think I'm a fan, he's in a whole other universe, watching 4 games at once. And he's so happy about the young guys. He's not the kind of analyst that's like, when I played, we did it this way, and everybody now is terrible. He's like, no, I appreciate what they're doing now. And I love what the MLB is doing to try to engage younger and a wider demographic of young fans. So, yeah, if people can go check it out, that would be dope.
I'm a big fan of Dave Stewart, even though he made me cry when I was 6 years old. And the A's swept the Giants in the Battle of the Bay, and we had to face Dave Stewart twice, and he was just too much. He made young Kenny Caraway cry, but I always admired the way he went about his business. Obviously his talent, but his whole style, his whole persona out there on the mound. Always was a big Dave Stewart fan.
Yeah, I remember that. That was the earthquake series. Do you remember there with the huge earthquake that happened? You could see the guys in the outfield. They were trying to figure out what was going on, and it was huge. Yeah. I was a lot older than 6, though. Like Kenny and I, we have a gap there.
Well, don't take that. Like Kenny remembers everything from 6 and 7, but once you get
everything happened to him when he was 6 or 7 years old.
First thing I remember, I think, would probably be it was when they lost in '87. So I was 4. I was 4. I just remember Game 7. The Cardinals won. They started playing them stupid fireworks over Busch Stadium, and I was upset. That's the first thing I remember about sports.
87. I think I was in college in '87.
You were not in college.
Don't I look good?
You were not.
I was trying to get one of those. Oh my God, you look good for your age kind of comments in the chat, but no. All right.
Well, you do, but
but I could segue this. I could segue this if you want.
Oh, I was actually going to, but you can, because I know that Dave. Well, I'll let you do it.
Well, Dave put out a statement. So over the weekend, some drama erupted over Twitter around what NBC Sports Bay Area Oakland A's analyst broadcaster Glenn Kuiper. He's been with the team or with NBC for like 20 years now. He very excitedly was talking about the A's playing in St. Louis. He and his broadcasting partner, former player for the pitcher for the A's, Dallas, he went on the air and said he was supposed to be talking about the Negro Baseball League, the museum. And he did not say Negro. And he hit it hard.
Yeah.
He hit it really hard, just like a instead of Negro, it was a And it took a while for people to catch up to the fact that it happened, but eventually it was played on Twitter and people.
Yeah, 6 innings.
Yes. People were like, did I hear what I think I heard? And Dave Stewart was one of the people who posted about it over the weekend, his response to it. He and his wife, they're both agents. And they've obviously been around the organization forever and they know him. And they put out statements saying, sure, it was an accident. I know Glenn. There's no way he would have done this on purpose. The president of the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum said that he met Glenn there. They met when they were touring the museum. And he said, I don't claim to know Glenn's heart, but I do think this was an accident, and I accept his apology. Now, having talked to Dave a couple of times, I didn't expect him, Dave Stewart, to come out mad and like, I can't believe this happened, because he's, again, a very even-keeled guy. He takes everything into consideration. But I thought everybody, including Stan Verrett from ESPN, some other broadcasters that were like, of course it was an accident. Oh my gosh, these kind of positions are coveted positions. No one would get on air and say these kind of things on purpose. I just really wanted people to sit with it for a minute. And that was an incredible, wild thing to hear on air. Again, very clearly stated. It wasn't like a fumbling of the words. He didn't stutter. Now, again, I don't know his heart and whether or not it was an accident, but I don't think that even matters. It doesn't matter if it was an accident in my mind or if it was on purpose. The words still came out on a live broadcast. And I think everybody, when this happens, when somebody says something, especially when African Americans who are in broadcasting or in sports, they say, I know that guy. He's good. Don't worry. I hate when that happens. I don't want to be, if one of my friends, you guys all know that I grew up in South San Jose. The entire city was 3% Black, and none of them lived on my side of town. If any of my white friends that I've grown up since childhood said something like this on air or said something that's in public, I would not allow them to be like, well, I've got a Black friend and she says I'm cool, so I'm cool. That's not a thing. I am not the scapegoat. If somebody in my life made that kind of mistake, they need to sit with that. And whatever repercussions come, you deal with that. I don't know if he necessarily should be fired. And I think Stan and Dave and, again, the president, I think his name is Bob. I apologize if his name isn't Bob. The president of the Negro Leagues Museum, they all forgave. And I think that's fine. You can forgive and move forward. But I also think it's okay for him to ride the pine, to be suspended at least for a few days. If he said the F word, he'd be sitting for a few days.
Yeah,
that's
that's
some other kind of big word. He'd be sitting for, so it's not a big deal in my mind that he'd be suspended for that particular word.
Yeah, that word makes you judge people's character, heart, intent. When if everything everybody said is true about him, and again, I'm like, I don't know, but if I'll trust the people who know, that's cool. You still can't say it, and there are consequences for it. It's no different than if I thought we were on commercial and I let something happen. It's I got to suffer the ramifications for that. That's what happens.
Right. Yeah, that's
just what happens.
That's just the bottom line of it. And if I did know Glenn Kuiper or anybody else who said that and did something like that, yeah, I could say all this stuff like I know him, I know his heart, but I could also tell him like, bro, you was wrong. Like I'm not here to save you. I can maybe vouch that my experiences with you haven't been that, but also I don't know what you say away from me. I don't know how you interact with other people, so I can't vouch for that. And regardless if I believe in my heart that you're not that type of individual, you gotta pay the consequences for this. You have to.
It's just weird that word slipped out. Like this is the thing that we were talking about. Like they're not they're not even close.
No.
One ends in an O. Like it's not even the same. I don't even know how you accidentally get there. But
I've said a number of times, and I don't know. I don't know what to make of it. But I've said Negro Leagues my entire life. That's never slipped. It's never slipped.
Yeah.
Like I've said Negro Leagues my entire life, and it's never slipped into that.
You've said it twice just now, very easily, just rolled off the tongue very easily. Well, the other issue with it is when he came back during the 6th inning, that apology was pathetic. It wasn't a real apology in my mind. If you heard me say something, he didn't say what the word was. If you heard me say something in a way I didn't intend, I apologize. I mean, I feel like we've gone through this exercise of what a real apology sounds like, taking ownership of the mistake. Of course, he couldn't necessarily quote the word that he said wrong, but he could say Negro League. He could say it now, but he still took it in a weak ass way. And I don't know, am I allowed to say ass? Do I need to sit for a week if I say
okay. You're okay.
But Yeah, I didn't like the apology. I didn't like the rush to say, well, I know him, he's fine, let's keep going. Yeah, no.
Well,
Mhm.
funnier than the rush to defend him from people who know him was the rush to defend him from people who didn't. Like, because the one thing I tweeted, the only thing I tweeted regarding this was, hold up, it took till the 6th inning. The word came out pregame. It took till the 6th inning for someone to say, hey, I think you should say sorry for that. That's all I wrote. Oh, it was an accident. Clearly he didn't mean to say it. Hold up. I didn't ask you. That's not even what the context of what I wrote was.
Right.
But a certain group of people felt the need to defend it. Oh, he made a mistake. Get over it. Man, you're quick to defend anyone who uses that word and categorize it as a mistake. What do you know about his intent? I've said clearly now for 4 days, I don't know that man's intent. But when you, hours after it happened, tell me you do, that sits funny with me. That sits funny with me. Because Twitter guy 97134 has no idea what his intent is.
Right. No.
And the intent, again, it doesn't matter. The words still came out. And this is my thing, and I've said this in some of my nightcaps before. This is why it's important to have a Black friend. It's important to have Black people on staff, because people get away with stuff. They get a little loose. They get a little comfortable, and they start saying things. How is it that nobody on the broadcasting team heard this and did nothing? How is it that it went by 6 innings go by and they didn't bring it up earlier and apologize? They couldn't create a graphic. They couldn't cut away. Don't they have like a delay or something? Like nobody's there.
The delay is wild. Yeah.
The wild part about that is that wasn't live.
So I've heard now.
I've heard both.
2 different things. I've heard.
I think it was recorded.
So I've heard from 2 different people who contacted 2 different people at NBC. One, it's like it was taped. The other one said it was live. I have no idea what it was at this point. The first person live during our show texted us and was like, hey, it was definitely recorded. We were told it was recorded. It was taped. Everything we've been told, it was taped. When what's my man's name? The Jim Neander Nighthawk, Dallas Braden. When he put out his statement, I think he used the phrase, live TV. So I have no idea if it was live or it was taped. All stall Dallas out because I understand why in that moment you don't draw attention to it. You try to get past it. Like from purely a broadcasting standpoint, I completely understand why he reacted the way that he did. But you bring up something I hadn't even thought about, which is why I kept leaning on the thing that it was taped. Who didn't hit the dump button?
Who didn't say, yo, we got to re-record that?
Or
right,
if it's live,
like if it's recorded,
right.
If it's recorded, that makes it worse. How many people had to see it before? Even if it was just one guy, that one guy didn't know, like, maybe I shouldn't say this. Well, we're just going to go ahead to air it. But like you said, Damian, Dallas, he's made a lot of statements saying it was live television. People are in our ear. I don't know if I really heard it. And so which is it? I don't know which it was, but regardless, in either case, somebody else had to have been there, witnessed it, allowed it to go on air. And this is why you need a Black friend. You need Black coworkers. You need somebody else in the space to be able to hear these things. And it reminded me of when you told me about what the Sharks did around Juneteenth. I don't know if it was last year, the Sound of the Sharks, they put out that Juneteenth statement and it was a shark in chains. And you're like,
no, I believe a shark was jumping up and breaking the chains.
Yeah,
they bit through the chains.
Oh, he wasn't using his hands.
Well,
yeah, no, not you. I'm talking about. I was clarifying that he was biting. I was like, well, of course he was. He wasn't using his hands. So
yeah. No one said, "Hey, let me explain the middle passage to you here real quick." And their quick defense of that was that a Black guy created it. It's like, well, that's why critical race theory needs to be taught.
Absolutely.
That's why you've got to stop banning books from schools, because people need to know why a shark biting through chains is it's a bad idea, period. If you know your history, it's a really, really bad idea.
Yeah, and it's also hard to just have one, because at times I'm sure you've been the only and different spaces in your profession, other teams, other stations, other jobs you've had. You've been the one Black person on staff or in a meeting or what have you. And you don't always have the leverage professionally to execute things in a way that you think will be accepted by your colleagues. So you go with the flow because you are the only. You can't stand out in that way. So you might produce something like a shark breaking chains.
Hey, look,
but at the same time, yeah, CRT is important.
The other thing about that too, Olivia, just like we don't all look the same, we don't all think the same. So just having one isn't like, well, this is for the Black community. Like, no, like this guy over here don't think the same way I do, or this guy here don't think like the 10 people that I know or whatever. Like you got, like you said, got to have more than one, and don't think you just fill in a quota. I'm looking at the
That's
tape,
right.
though.
So when I side with Devin Booker, you need to lay off us.
I actually got love for Devin Booker. I do. Season might come to an end tonight, but I got love for Devin Booker. But real quick, so I'm looking at the thing, and I don't have any hardcore evidence if it was taped or recorded, or excuse me, taped or live. But I think it's taped. I'm looking at a still shot of the broadcast and when it happened. There's 3 guys on the field.
Mm-hmm.
There's a Royals player. There's one way out in center field. There's one by the first baseline, and there's an A's player around shortstop. Now, if it was live, they go to commercial break for 2.5 minutes and then come back to the Royals taking the field. Usually when I go to a baseball game, I don't remember guys warming up 3 minutes before people are running on to take the field.
Yeah.
It could happen. I haven't been to a baseball game or even paid attention to that in a while. It could happen that way, but you're telling me 3 minutes before the Royals take the field, there were guys warming up all the way out in center field. I don't know about that.
I trust both people, but I believe the segment was taped.
I think it was too.
If you go down the Twitter rabbit hole, there's another video of Glenn saying it very similarly to the mistake he made over the weekend.
I saw that. Yeah, I saw that.
Like, this isn't a first-time offense. So I don't know if it's a linguistic
rabbit hole.
Mouth warming up thing he needs to do to enunciate that word.
Maybe just not talk about it anymore. Maybe just never mention the Negro League Museum again.
Yeah.
Maybe.
At this point, don't go for 3 strikes. Just cut it out of your vernacular.
Yeah.
Keep it moving.
Yeah.
Who you got tonight? Are you excited for? Are you digging the playoffs so far?
Oh yes. I think they've been pretty exciting. I don't. What is it? There are a couple players that aren't playing tonight. DeAndre is sitting because he's hurt.
Out. Yeah, DeAndre Ayton is out. Chris Paul is out.
And for, I think Denver's sitting someone. I can't.
I'm trying to think of who.
Jamal Murray's questionable with a non-COVID.
Yes, Jamal. God, my brain. He's questionable. So now it feels kind of like up in the air. But a lot of these series, it's wild to me. You have one night and it's a blowout. The next night it's close. And that's what it's like in the playoffs. It's such a challenge to play the same team back and forth and having to make those adjustments. Who can withstand the mental hurdle, the physical hurdle, the emotional hurdle, having to get up and try to not get eliminated. It's been a fun playoff season. It's been good. I don't think the Knicks are going to go into the next round. I think the Sixers might be able to put the Celtics away. Denver and the Suns, I feel like it's a toss-up, especially with the injuries tonight. They've had big swings, blowouts, and it's been wild. So it's a toss-up.
Well, great stuff. Make sure you check out the game last night. Make sure you check out the long episodes, the interviews, the Dave Stewart conversations, the Kenny May. I love the game last night. Cap, those are always fun on Instagram and TikTok and all of that stuff. But the long form conversations are really good. And I think that's where you get a chance to see Olivia shine at her best, because she's just a really good interviewer who gets great content out of her subjects. Great stuff.
Good stuff.
Oh, thanks, guys.
We'll come back. We will talk more. Actually, I want to dive into Boston. I mentioned a couple of things regarding coaches, and we talked about, or we need to talk about, this overreactionary world that we live in. There's some crazy things going on. Boston Twitter is melting down. Celtics Twitter is melting down. And I can't lie, Draymond Green's episode just dropped, and they sent out the push notification. Draymond responds to AD injury. Oh, we're going to listen to that during the commercial break. We'll react to that when D'Lo and Casey return here on Sacramento Sports Leader, ESPN 1320. Great stuff, as always.
You guys, Stephen A. this morning talking about AD's
Out
injury.
of pocket.
So wild. So,
Not
I mean, he might need to ride the pine with Glenn Guyber. That was just mean. Just mean.
Let's see what. I don't know if I can fast forward it. The Dubs. Oh, we're at the box score. No, wait
I'll
a
let you
minute.
guys go. Bye. I'll see you next week.
You don't want to listen with
You
us?
want to hear?
Oh, okay.
No, you don't have to.
No, I would, but
It's okay. Go ahead. It's fine.
Fine. I appreciate what you said, both of you. Thanks for watching, listening.
Much love, O.
See you next time.
Bye.
Take care.
Leave. Don't.
Oh, sorry. Don't hit end broadcast. Are you just talking about her outfit? Or am I still missing it? Oh, I don't think I saw that.
I wasn't Met Gala. At the Met, there is. At the Met Gala, she was, or Met Gala-ish or whatever. It was that night. She was dancing on some bar in her Met Gala outfit.
Yeah, that was a hell of an outfit.
I honestly really just wanted to try it out again. I knew from my first podcast that I did many years ago, I wasn't ready for it. I knew that not often do you get
this is not what I'm here
second
for.
chances. And so I knew for me and coming back into this business that if I was going to do it, whenever I did it, that it had to be right. And it had to be, and that I had to be committed. And so I always try to make sure I give you guys content that you're subscribed and checking out for. And again, I just want to say thank you to the Volume as a partner. Man, it's been absolutely amazing journey, and let's keep this thing going.
All right, nothing wrong with that.
The Dubs took game 5, 121 to 106.
Okay, box score. Thank you.
Came out high energy, guns blazing, attacking from the gate.
I'm not here for any of this.
Elimination. You just got to leave it all out there.
And I can't fast forward it.
We're facing elimination again tomorrow, so we got to go out with not the same mindset, but an even better mindset because you're on the road, and the same mindset that works at home does not work.
Oh, wait. Yes, I can. Oh, they posted the whole podcast. I'm not scrolling through 30 minutes to find him talking about Anthony Davis. Somebody else find it.
Canelo won't answer.
Having Al Jefferson's stat page open wasn't something I planned for today.
Al Jefferson was a weird player.
He
was good, but
he had like 4 really good years, and then just
didn't he tear his ACL? Did he have that happen before he got traded, or was it after?
I don't remember.
With Minnesota?
Yeah, well, he got traded to he went from Boston to Minnesota, and I don't think he tore his ACL in Boston. It might have been at
Jefferson 16-255 season was widely considered a disappointment. Ankle injuries and a torn meniscus in his right knee.
That's what it was. Was that in Minnesota?
That was in Boston.
That was in Boston. That's what I thought it was.
Headed to Minnesota.
Yeah.
For those just tuning in, we are in fact talking about Al Jefferson again. I don't know the last time Al Jefferson was discussed this much on radio. But for some reason, he is the subject of our discussions today.
Shout out to Al Jefferson if you're watching, listening. Big ups to you. One-time All-NBA player.
Al Jefferson signed with the Big Three in 2019. You know, we lost. What?
On Twitter, and Jill Adge, she had tweeted a couple of days ago when the all rookie team came out. She's like, the 3 idiots who didn't have Keegan on the first or second team, show yourself. And then she came out with the tweet just now. We found him. We found him.
Who is it?
Frank Isola,
Okay.
Mike Ganter, and Eduardo Barrero.
I know who Frank Isola is.
But just we found him.
We found. Jill's one of the best Twitter followers.
We got him.
We got him. Ladies and gentlemen. We got him. Oh, look, more schedule notes are out. The Eagles and the Kansas City Chiefs on November 20th.
Eagles, they don't play nobody at the beginning of the season.
Guess not.
Backloading all their tough games.
Al, to bring this back to Al Jefferson and the Celtics. The All-NBA announcements, obviously, for Sacramento, incredible. For Boston, they were expensive. Jayson Tatum, Jaylen Brown, both hit Supermax levels because of their All-NBA selections. And, that's about $500 million for those two guys
crazy.
Over the lives of their deal. Now, there was a lot of discussion and rumor about what Jaylen Brown's intentions were. We even got a text last night from a man, Otis Griffin, like, hey, can the Kings get Jaylen Brown? Sure, like it might have been possible. I'm sure a lot of teams thought it was possible before yesterday. Now, it's virtually impossible. I would argue it's completely impossible because the potential for a lame duck year. Remember, the whole thing with Jaylen's on a bargain. The All-NBA selection eliminates all of those rules. So they don't have it's not the 170 150% or whatever the new CBA. It's not that anymore. It's he's all NBA. He can make the Supermax. He's not leaving that.
No.
I don't care how much he hates Boston.
No,
he's not leaving that.
I didn't think he was leaving before because wasn't it still a situation where they could offer him more than any other team? They give him the extra year.
Yeah.
So once again, like I've talked about before, you sign the deal and then you worry about getting out later. You know what I mean? That's the way these guys are operating nowadays. So he was always going to sign the deal, but now he's just going to get paid even more money. And he's going to sign the deal. I think Jaylen will be asking out in 2 to 3 years.
So there's 1 year. Jesse, is there 1 year left on his current deal?
Yeah, after if he wasn't to sign the deal, then next year would be his last deal on his current contract.
And he can sign the Supermax this year.
This summer.
Yep. So
yeah, if the Celtics season ends tonight, that extension is going to be in his locker tomorrow for his exit interview,
and he's going to sign it before he leaves.
I'd imagine he would.
That's a total of $600 million right there if they were both to get the
600.
600.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
My goodness.
Well, I mean, this is the price of playing ball here. You know, if you want these, I mean, everybody would want those level players on their squad at that age, at that point in their career. It's the price of it. If I was Boston, I'd gladly be paying that. He's skipping to the bank.
Is Brad Stevens having the conversation that you had with us yesterday or maybe a few days prior during your heel turn on Harrison Barnes?
Oh, my gosh.
Where you asked, like, how if Tatum and Brown are here for the long term, and hypothetically, for the record, I don't think this is going to happen, but hypothetically, they lose tonight. The Celtics lose tonight, so they don't even lose in 7. They lose in 6 to Philadelphia, who, again, I think is a championship contender. Like, this shouldn't be looked down upon. Like, losing to Philly, like, losing to Miami cost Mike Budenholzer his job. I don't think losing to Philadelphia would have cost Mike Budenholzer his job, unless they were looking to fire him anyways. But you lose tonight, does that change anything? Like, what questions are you asking yourself if you're Brad Stevens, knowing you've got likely in the vicinity of $600 million going to these two players, and you probably got to find a way to get better in certain positions?
Yeah, to me, it doesn't change anything. And the way I would look at it is almost like these guys are looking at signing the deal. If I was Boston, I'd be looking at the same thing in an ownership role. Sign the deal, and if it doesn't work, we'll move them later. You can always move them.
Yeah, I don't see a situation where Jaylen isn't performing up to his $270, $80, $90 million contract.
No, I think he definitely will perform up to it.
But meaning it won't be difficult to move was the point.
Right. And it could be a situation where 2-3 years down the road, it's just really, we tried it. It's not working. We need something different. Let's break this up. And you'll have a bidding war for Jaylen Brown.
It's good old-fashioned Kenny Caraway bidding wars.
You'll get everybody's best offer for a guy like Jaylen Brown. So because you have that
who
ability,
will likely have years on his contract. It won't be a rental.
Yeah, he'll have like 3 years or something like that on his contract. And because you always have that out, if you're the Celtics, you sign them in a heartbeat. You figure it out later. You have draft picks, you got mid-levels, all this other stuff, ways to get better around those guys, and you figure it out that way.
Well, if you get above the cap, you're not going to have those mid-levels.
Yeah.
It's part of the new Draymond Green ruining the NBA with that stuff. What do you think happens tonight?
I had telling Jesse before the show. I don't know, man. I really don't know. I could see every scenario here. Boston in a blowout, Boston in a close game, Philly in a close game, Philly in a blowout. I think that Philadelphia crowd is going to be hungry out there. They are going to be lit. That doesn't guarantee anything. Boston has played in front of hungry crowds for the last 3 years in the postseason. So I don't think they're going to be intimidated by it, but that Sixers team may get a little bit of a lift. They get a little bit of a boost. You know, I think you're going to need a superstar performance from somebody on Boston's team to bring this back to Boston. You're not going to be able to get it. I don't believe
you're going
to need a superstar performance. You're going to need a Tatum 46.
Oh, okay.
Type deal. I don't think you're going to be able to get this done in a strength and numbers type deal. Like everybody just does their part, and you got 4 guys having 20 and stuff. Like, I don't think that's going to happen. Somebody going to have to bring you home. And I don't know if it's Jaylen. I don't know if it's Tatum. I don't know if Al Horford has his big game where he hits 5 of 12 from, or 5-7 be even greater, but like 5 of 7, 5 of 8 from beyond the arc for his 21 points. But somebody's going to have to play above and beyond to bring you home tonight.
I'd argue the Sixers got it done, to use your line, by strength in numbers.
They did, but that wasn't an elimination situation.
Okay.
That's what I said. And
so you need a Steph Curry in Sacramento.
Absolutely.
Oh, that sucks. It's funny because I think that's what Steph might do tomorrow. I think Steph might be 40 plus tomorrow. And I don't know what that amounts to for the Warriors or the Lakers, but I think Steph is going 40 to 50.
He's definitely going to try.
Let's get Erik in here. 916-909-1320. What's up, E?
Dang, what's going on? What's up, fellas?
What's up, man?
Just trying to chime in on that Celtics talk, man. So you asked Dame if what's going to happen tonight. So my prediction is, or the way I see it playing out, so if your stars cancel each other out, JT and JB and Harden and Embiid, you need others to come along. So will it be D. White and Brogdon, or will it be DeAndre Melton and Paul Reed and these guys off the bench for the Sixers? And usually that's when your others play well, is at home. So just as it's been all year, I literally, just like you guys, have no read on this team, and I pretty much watch every single game. When you look at Al, our big men, you guys mentioned the future and what do you do now that Jaylen Brown is an All-NBA team member. The only way really to get better, I mean, if you think about it, Rob's not really tradable, Robert Williams, because of his knees. Al is got way more time behind him than he does in front of him. And then you look at the bench, you got Peyton Pritchard and Luke Cornett and Mike Muscala and Hauser, the shooter. I mean, your only recourse to get better is to trade Smart.
Oh, he said it. Oh, Eric, you hurt me.
Eric is talking right now, though. He's talking.
Eric hurt me with that.
I know. You heard a lot of well, you're not a Celtics fan, but you heard a lot of Celtics fans with that one.
I'm a supporter of this Celtics team. I think I just like Tatum, Brown, and Smart. That's probably what it is.
I like Tatum.
Can we, and E, this is for you too. This is for Jesse also. You're probably right, but I don't know what Marcus nets you in return, but I get the line of thinking that Marcus is the guy you have to move because it might be all that you can move.
Yeah.
So just for a second, we don't have to exhaust this point. I just want to bring some context to the Boston Celtics for a second. And just keep this in mind when someone's talking about Anthony Davis's injury or when we're talking about anything in sports. Keep how context can often get lost. You're listening to D-Lo and Casey on KIFM West Sacramento 98.5 FM, KRX QHD2 Sacramento, ESPN 1320, always live on the free Odyssey app. Joe Mazzola has been taking a beating on social media and on television for a handful of days now for not calling a timeout, for poor final play execution with Tatum, Brown, Malcolm Brogdon, the turnover, all of that stuff that has happened over the last handful of days with Joe Mazzola, and he has just been getting trashed all over social media. This is and television. This is Joe Mazzola's first year as the head coach for the Boston Celtics. We all know the circumstances in which he took over the team. He was promoted when Ime Udoka was at the time suspended. Joe Mazzola had been, and we talked about this yesterday, which is why I wanted to bring this portion of the conversation up today, because for those who were with us yesterday, it'd still be fresh in your mind. Joe was a second row coach the year prior. Joe was asked to go with Will Hardy to Utah and was just like, nah, I'm gonna stay here in Boston. I'm gonna stay in Boston. I was asked to stay, like, could work the whole thing. Okay. So Ime goes through, Ime's suspended. Joe is promoted. He's eventually, he goes from interim head coach to the full-term head coach. What we outlined their age a couple of days ago and how there's no one on the staff older than, I think, 41 or 42 was the number. His lead assistant, a month before the playoffs, left in Damon Stoudemire. The other key point, that's not his staff. It's Ime Udoka's staff. There's an extremely high probability all these guys are gone next year and are in Houston with the guy who brought them over in the first place. So Joe has been coaching. You can talk about Tatum and Brown and this roster all you want. Joe has been coaching in near impossible circumstances all year. And there's this mindset, well, if you have talent, you can't screw it up. No, you can. You need a good coach. Like, you have to have a good coach with talent. You have to have a good head coach with poor talent, which was why I was making the argument about Erik Spoelstra earlier. Not saying the Miami Heat have poor talent, but in terms of superstars, you don't, like, maybe you mentioned Jimmy Butler. You probably mentioned Jimmy Butler after a lot of different, you're not mentioning Duncan Robinson or Tyler Hero. I don't even know when Bam Adebayo comes up when you're having these conversations. You got Tatum, you got Brown. That's fantastic. But the conditions and the circumstances in which Joe Mazzola has had to coach this team all year have been extremely difficult. And the fact that they're here in the second round of the playoffs shouldn't be looked at as a failure just because they were in the NBA Finals last year. They were in the NBA Finals last year under a different circumstance. And it took a half a season to find their way with Ime Udoka. Found it, got going, didn't have those same struggles this year, finished second in the West, did a lot of things right. But what did Kings fans hear? All leading in, all from the time they clinched to the series, what did they hear? It's different. Playoffs are different. Okay, so it's different just for the players? No, it's got to be different for the coaches too. So if we're going to make the argument that the playoffs are totally different, this is Joe Mazzola's first trip as a head coach to the playoffs. And for him, his expectation with his fan base, clearly with the media, is to be back in the NBA Finals and perhaps even win an NBA championship. Those are extremely difficult circumstances for him.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, I agree with what you say about, this is first go around with everything, as far as running the team, being in the main seat and all this other stuff. So, there is a learning curve for him. I disagree with anybody who was thinking, got to fire him or move on from him or anything like that. Like, no, not at all. He hasn't had the smoothest postseason, but he seems like a good coach. Yeah, I don't.
And you know
I
what?
don't understand that.
He might not be a good coach. He might not be, but like that, you've got to give him a chance to prove, like, over time, that he's not a good coach. Right now, I think he is. I think he's a fine coach, but I don't know if making him the removing the interim tag during the season was the best idea, but there's an argument that not removing the interim tag could have been more disastrous, and that you felt like you had a coach who was coaching for his job like all year. And some people could say, hey, that motivates you. That'll get you going. That'll get you to call timeout in those tight possessions. Or it could have the exact opposite effect where you clam up and you question everything that you're doing, and you're worried if you're going to be employed in May or June or whenever your season comes to an end.
Yeah, I looked at what he's done this postseason. The only thing that has bothered me from a distance is the couple of late game out of timeout situations.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I thought he was overthinking those plays. Get them to your best players, let them go to work. Other than that, I mean, he's not the reason for the Celtics being in the position they're in right now. It's not him.
Mm-hmm.
It's not him. But I mean, that's also how I look at things. I don't, dismiss it completely and be like, you can just throw anybody in the head coaching position, but it's up to those guys on the floor. Like, Jayson Tatum was the one who didn't get a shot off.
Yeah.
In game 4. They didn't come out ready to play in game 5. Who knows? Mazzola might have gave him this super rah-rah speech and they didn't respond well to it. Or if he didn't do anything, it's not his job to get you ready. I don't believe it's his job to get you mentally ready for the game. So it's on those players, man.
I think another thing that hurts him too, because honestly, like, they didn't miss a beat this season. The circumstance, he came in and they were going from the start or whatever. I think one of the issues is that he gets compared to Udoka, because Udoka is the one who finally unlocked what Brad Stevens couldn't. But they're two completely different coaches.
And on top of all that, Udoka literally had the same situation we're in right now. You can say he choked away game 5 at home, and it took the player. I don't think, Jesse, you can tell me if I'm wrong. I don't think Udoka did anything miraculous in game 6 to bring them out of that and get them in a game 7. No. It was their player stepping up and being a great player that he was and putting them on his back. And that's the same thing they're going to be asking for tonight. And sometimes you get that, sometimes you don't. But the other thing about it was we talked about it yesterday. I didn't look at Boston or any of these teams as like, like you completely dropped the ball if you didn't win a championship this year. I thought, once again, if I had to power rank or, put money down on who I thought was going to win an NBA championship, I thought it was Milwaukee. But Milwaukee had holes. I wasn't sure if Chris Middleton was healthy, yeah, Milwaukee. Chris Middleton was never healthy.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if he'll ever be the player he was before these knee injuries.
Mm-hmm.
So they've got holes. Boston, there was something about Boston. You had Brown and Tatum, but I wasn't crazy about Derek White. I wasn't sure how Rob Williams' knees would hold up. Wasn't sure how Al Horford would hold up in the postseason. I thought they needed some inside scoring, some post scoring that they didn't have. So there's holes there. Philly, James Harden. Was he going to be able to produce? So I say all that to say, yeah, these teams were favorites, but they weren't. And I'm not saying anybody said this. I didn't think they were unbeatable or close to it. I didn't think they were that much better. Once Phoenix got Kevin Durant and once in Denver, I didn't think they were that much better than those two teams.
Mm-hmm.
So you lose in these playoffs, it's not like the 73-9 Warriors losing in the final. That's not who Boston was. Boston was a really good team, one of the better teams this year. It's not this, how could you lose this situation?
They weren't even the 1 seed.
No. So I never looked at any of these teams like that. We talked about it before the season. We were like, it's probably like 7 or 8 teams that you can make the argument could win a championship.
I didn't have the Knicks or Heat as one of those teams.
Did not have the Knicks or Heat as one of those teams.
Do you think the Celtics, for both of you, let's start with you, Jesse. Do you think the Celtics have multiple years of title contention ahead?
Yeah, I think they have half a decade of contention ahead. As long as you got Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum, I think everything else you can figure it out. If you got those two, yeah, they'll be contenders for the next 5 seasons if everyone sticks around.
100%. And I'll go so far to say as long as you got Jayson Tatum. Because I do believe Jaylen's going to ask out. But number one, Jaylen is going to net you back a lot as well. Jaylen, say it's not the same exact situation, but say they had to trade Jaylen and they traded for somebody like Mikal Bridges to go with Jayson Tatum. You're still going to be nice.
Mm-hmm.
And you got Tatum, and now you got another number 2 with him. You're going to be good. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, as long as Tatum is there, and Tatum ain't going nowhere, Tatum might be a Celtic for
he might be franchise
forever.
Yeah.
And I mean, right now, too, like the Brogdons, the Derek Whites, and all that, those guys are locked up for the next 2 years at least. So they still at least have 2 years of contention before they probably have to make more moves or add someone else.
Yeah, this ain't the end all be all this season.
You got to figure out what to do with Williams and Williams.
Grant is gone. I think. What you think? I
think Grant's out of there. He's gonna want more than they're gonna want to pay. And honestly, this season wasn't great for him.
Rob will be perfect, but you just don't know if he can hold up.
Yeah.
Yeah, the big situation, I think, is Horford, like Casey was talking about it yesterday. I think Horford is losing a step. I think eventually he's going to move into that Udonis Haslem role where he's just the vet around the guys and stuff like that. So they are going to have to figure out the big situation.
Wow.
Okay. That'll be a team. I don't think they'll be there. Obviously, Mike Budenholzer was a huge shakeup in Milwaukee. It's not happening in Boston, but changes are coming in Boston for sure. Just nothing that drastic.
Right.
Win or lose, changes are coming. I do think they're losing a large portion of their coaching staff. And they've got roster things that they've got to figure out.
So the thing about that, though, I think they're championship contenders for years to come. But if you did want to press a panic button these last 2 years, maybe you can even go 3 years on there. I forgot what happened the year before. I don't remember. But I thought they were title contenders for the last 3 years. This was the time when you were at the top. Now, does Philly figure something out and get up there with you? I know people will sneeze at this. I'll throw Cleveland on there too.
Yeah,
Cleveland will do, but I know people will sneeze at this. Do the Knicks figure it out? The Knicks got room probably. If the Knicks went got Cat, now you got Brunson, Randall,
Cat and Tibbs back together.
Cat and Tibbs back together. But being absolutely one of the, if not the number 1, the number 2 team in that East, you had that undoubtedly. Now these other teams in the East are starting to load up and catch up as well. Maybe that's where there's a sense of urgency for that, but I think they're still going to be up there. They're still going to be 1, 2, 3 in the East. Real quick, let me flip it on you though. Is this Philly's best chance?
I'll answer that when dealing with KC, brought to you by Sky River Casino, returns here on Sacramento Sports Leader, ESPN 1320. Oh, yeah. Professional, baby.
No 13th round today. Oh, no. Don't tell me they're going to do it again. Oh, that is nasty. I don't think I'm going to watch this year. Giants and Cowboys on Sunday Night Football to start the season. I'm protesting. I'm not watching.
I can't believe they put Miami and Kansas City in Germany.
Oh.
You could have Tyreek coming back to Arrowhead, all that. They've been talking smack with each other.
As a Chiefs home game?
Yeah, Chiefs home game.
Oh, no.
Yeah, that was disgusting.
No.
The Knicks, they need that 1 star.
Yeah. And they got assets to go get it.
Julius Randle.
Julius. They could probably still throw Obi in there. And they still got all them picks. They never got rid of the picks.
You think Ayton gets traded in the offseason? I think he does.
He might, yeah.
I don't think they like him. I don't think he likes them.
Yeah, he might. I mean, hell, I like Ayton better than most. Be a good look if he went to New York. Jay Hardaway got Devin beating Loma. Absolutely. I don't think he's gonna knock him out because he ain't got that kind of power. But yeah, I think he does. Loma's too small. Devin's gonna keep him behind that jab. He's just gonna outbox him. Kenny Charlo's ever gonna fight? I heard that Mel broke his hand. He was supposed to fight in that Tim Tszyu. There we go. Tim Tszyu, Tony Harrison fight. That was supposed to be Mel, but he broke his hand. He'll be back. And Jamal, I heard Jamal was dealing with some custody stuff with his children. So he's actually supposed to come back, I think, this summer. But yeah, real life got in the way for him.
Jermel was calling out Canelo today too. Everyone's calling out Canelo.
He called out Canelo over the weekend.
That's how you know he's the face of boxing still, because everyone's still calling him out.
I think they see something though. I think that's why they're calling him out. There's two reasons why. And you get this with Tank at 140 because number one, Tank and Canelo, that's where the money is. And I actually think with both of them, I think these other people see something. They could be got. Yeah, Shakur, if Haney wins, but see, I think Haney's gonna move up to 140. I think this is his last fight. Yeah. When is a fight card in Stockton? I'd go see that. I'd go watch that.
Tank is 135 or 140.
He's really 130, but he fights at 135. They always try to get him to go up to 140. He's too small for 140. Like it's almost like Canelo at 175. Canelo's too short.
That's gonna be sad when people kicks his ass again.
Yeah, like Canelo at 175, bro. You're like 5'5". You're not 175. Like that's the same thing with Tank. Tank like 5'4", and they want him to 5'3", and they want him to go up to 140. He's too short. He's too small.
KC, you asked me before the commercial break, talking about this Boston-Philadelphia series, if I thought this was Philadelphia's best opportunity to win a title. Mm-hmm. And I kind of feel like it is for a couple of different reasons. Joel has been playing extraordinary for like 4 or 5 years now. They've been on the brink of breaking through for a while, and we've questioned what would happen if they didn't. I think we had Joel in Miami at one point.
Yeah.
Like we've questioned like what happens if Philadelphia doesn't break through. And some people say they need to get to the conference, just need to get to the conference finals. Some think they need to get to the NBA finals. I'm really critical of James Harden. James Harden's played really well this series, even in the last game where I thought he would, need to have as you called it, a superstar performance.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he actually had a really good game in scoring 17 because he had one of those, James Harden Rockets MVP year where it was a down scoring night, but he had, I think, like 8 rebounds and 10 assists in that. You felt his presence on the floor. So I think this is their best opportunity. And if they fall short in the finals, I'm curious, like, what approach did they take? Like, oh, we were right there. Versus if they fall in the Eastern Conference Finals, which would be weird because it would mean they fell to New York or Miami. And I think that, with all due respect to the Knicks, who I think were the 5th seed, Miami, a play-in team, right?
Yep.
Miami, a play-in team, much like the Lakers were. They weren't in that upper echelon of Boston, Milwaukee, and Philadelphia all year.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you're stretching to throw Cleveland in there. I really think it was those top 3 teams that everybody talked about.
Mm-hmm.
How do you react if that happens? So, and then of course you've got falling to Boston. You got James Harden, Rockets rumors already out there. You already know there's a situation bubbling with James Harden. Tobias Harris, he's on the final year of his contract finally next season at $39 million. He probably doesn't finish the year. If he starts the year in Philadelphia, he probably doesn't finish it there because he becomes a more tradable asset than he's ever been before. Joel and PJ Tucker? I don't know.
Maxey.
I mean, you got Maxey, sure. Like, can Maxey elevate to that almost like second chair? Can he be the second guy to at a really, really, essentially what we're talking about at a championship level?
Mm-hmm.
Can Tyrone Maxey, if you will, elevate to be the second guy on a championship team? I don't know.
The one thing about,
it's easier for me to see Boston will be back than Philadelphia.
One of the things about that is if Harden leaves, I mean his money will be freed up. So can you go get somebody that you can replace James Harden with?
Are we sure?
Well,
are they over the cap?
They might be over the cap.
Because if they're over the cap, it's not like there's $35 million there for him.
Mm-hmm.
If they're over the cap,
they got a lot of
because they still got Tobias Harris, and I'm not picking on Tobias Harris, but that's a $39 million contract.
But even with Tobias, if it's the Tobias and Joel, I mean that's really it on the books.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure. I feel like PJ signed a strangely big deal, but it was like,
say it was like $10-12 million a year.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, for like 4 years or 3 or 4 years.
So I mean, Joel, Tobias, PJ, that's probably like 80 million together, maybe 90. So yeah, I feel like this. I think I agree with you. I think this is their best opportunity. I don't know. I don't know if they'll be able to bring it on home.
Joe's contract extension starts next year. He goes from 33 to 46.9. Now, again, deserving of every penny.
Yep.
But that's, now you've got that. So we just added like 14-15 million to your hypothetical number, because you've got that plus the 39 of Tobias Harris. We've got 11 for PJ Tucker, and this is all James Harden, seeing what James Harden does with that 35.6 that he's owed.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I mean, I think this is the best opportunity. for them to make this happen. But like you said, even then, it's no cakewalk anywhere else.
No, it's not. D'Anthony Melton still owed $8 million. Like there's a little bit of money out there lingering for him. If this is right, let's see. 30. I'm gonna do this real quick. 35. That's 41. 159 minus 41. They'd be under the cap. We had the cap number yesterday. I forgot what it was. I think it was around 130 something, 132, 136.
Yeah, right. That's what I was thinking.
So they'll be under the cap.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not James Harden's $35.9 million under the cap.
Right. Gotcha.
So I don't know. These are all stories. Of course, there's a game to be played tonight. What happens with these squads, we'll see. But I'm looking forward to tonight's game. I do think Boston wins. I do think we're getting 7. I have no idea what happens in game 7. I think we might be getting a couple of game 7s along the way.
I don't. Well, actually, yeah, 2. I will say I don't know what's going to happen tonight. I haven't. I guess it's to get off the fence. I think Philly wins tonight. Sorry, Jesse.
Wow.
You've been picking Boston most of this series. Honestly, I was going to tell you today to pick Philly. I just clapped in the studio right now.
I think Philly's going to win. That's the one. Well, the Knicks series too, but that's the one series that I just haven't been off.
The Knicks series
been completely
has been weird.
Off.
It's been so weird.
I was saying no. I do think we get 7 there.
In Heat Knicks, see that? Yeah, I could see the Knicks winning another one.
I don't see any 7s in the Western Conference.
I hope for our sake we don't, because if we do, I'm blocking Bonte Hill. I might just block the word Warriors. I'm blocking all them people because they will, understandably, be unbearable. Adidas has revealed plans to sell their $1.3 billion worth of unsold Yeezy inventory. They say they're going to donate the proceeds to international organizations. They said they've been trying to figure out how to get rid of inventory on Yeezy sneakers, and this is their plan. How are they going to get rid of them? They're going to sell them.
Understandable.
There's a tweet with unconfirmed information that says Kanye will get 15% commission on all those sales. But again, that is a completely unconfirmed report. That's just kind of from a tweet out there from a not Kanye's account, but a Yeezy account.
Hey, it would make sense unless they change the name and all that. But I don't even know if they could get away with selling those shoes and not giving something to Kanye.
Well, it would probably depend on what was your original agreement. Like, is your agreement based on sales, or is it based on was it such a high cost that it's like, this is what it costs to sell Yeezys, and you don't get a percentage of this. Like, we're giving you such an astronomical number, you don't get a percentage. I have no idea what the terms of the deal were, but you're right. If it's written into their deal that they terminated that he gets a percentage of everything sold, then he gets a percentage of everything sold.
Because even then, and what you brought up was a good point, but it feels like he had something to do with all those shoes, whether it's design or something like that. So if I was Kanye and they tried to sell my design, like I got some type of ownership over these shoes that you're trying to sell, even if you turned them into the Logitechs, and tried to change the name. They weren't Yeezys no more. Like the likeness and all this other stuff and design. Like I got to get something off of that.
No,
that's what I would think.
Right. I agree with you, unless he signed something that said otherwise. I mean, you know how these deals are. Like, I mean, if not so much in the fashion. Well, I think it happens in the fashion industry, but it happens far more in the music industry.
Mm-hmm.
You write a record, that ain't your record no more.
Mm.
If you sign the wrong deal, like what's the story? New Edition was getting dropped off from the projects after a sold out tour across the country.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because you signed the wrong piece of paper.
Yeah.
That's why Johnny Gill was making records for MCA till he was 50. This was the contract he signed.
Yeah.
But it was interesting to see that kind of reemerge. I haven't heard a lot about Ye recently.
No, I haven't either. I don't know what's going on with him. While we're here, too, just prayers are for Jamie Foxx and his family.
And
they're asking for prayers. We're going to give them.
This is one of the more bizarre, like I know there's been a lot written recently about Jamie Foxx and how private he is and how no one should be surprised by something happening and it being like a giant secret. Like no one who knows Jamie Foxx should be surprised by that. But I think the concern is like at this point, if everything was okay, wouldn't you like quell everyone's concern? Like, whoa, I saw what was going on social media, guys. Right, it's cool.
Right.
Like I'm
dealing with something, but I'm here.
Yeah, like I'm good. Like, he had I think it was an IG post maybe over the weekend that just said, hey, it's something like appreciate the love or something along those lines. And it's IG. It's not like it was a picture of Jamie Foxx. It was just the words. Like, you have no idea if he wrote that or not.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I hope Jamie Foxx is okay. It's just such a terrible story that we don't really know.
Yeah.
It's like every day Jamie Foxx is trending, and it's like, man, I hope he's not trending. Why he might be. Here's something positive. Hey, shout out to Robert De Niro. Robert De Niro, at the age of 79, just had his 7th child.
Good for him.
Robert De Niro, notorious for being.
I was about to say, that's down with the swirl.
Yeah, he's for the culture. Now, I'm not clear on this young lady because he's often known for his first wife, but he not only had a first wife, he had a second wife. Both of them for the culture.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure about this young lady who just gave birth to 79-year-old Robert De Niro's baby. But the thing I kept thinking.
I saw a joke.
Can you tell it?
I feel like I can. I mean, there's no curse words or nothing in it. But I think it was a Paul Mooney joke. He said, if you ever see Robert De Niro with a white woman, she's just telling him where the black women are.
That's funny. I love Paul Mooney. Paul Mooney was one of the most intimidating individuals I ever met. One thing that I loved about the Robert De Niro story was his oldest child is 54.
Oh man!
So this 54-year-old woman, I believe his first child is his daughter. 54-year-old woman has very literally a baby brother.
A newborn baby brother.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
Good for Robert De Niro. How old you say is 78?
I think 79.
That's a trip to be having kids at that age.
That's a flex right there.
I guess.
Having kids at 79?
I don't know if I want to have no kids.
I don't have. Well, at 79, what's it even matter?
Well,
I ain't gonna be around much longer.
Yeah,
I ain't gotta worry
about
the
kid.
It. Well, the kid will be. It's Robert De Niro. The kid is gonna be fine.
Dude's 80 in 2 months.
Man,
you gonna go out and play baseball with him?
I'm trying to see. Well, okay. So there's a picture of the baby. Okay. Okay. I don't know what to say. It's not. I believe it's a different type of swirl that Robert De Niro was going for this time.
All right.
I'm gonna see if I can.
He doesn't discriminate.
Well, he might, just not against who you think. Now I'm trying to figure out how old this young lady is. Her name is Tiffany.
Okay, Tiffany.
Oh, this is a bad rabbit hole. I got to get out of this. 78th birthday, Tiffany. I mean, she doesn't look like she's like, I think Al Pacino's dating like a 30-year-old. And Al Pacino's like 81 or 2.
These guys. Oh, okay. I see.
You see it?
I mean,
That's not a white child.
Yeah, it's not a black child either.
It's not. It's not.
And I don't know. I mean, yeah, the name doesn't scream.
No, I don't. Yeah, I don't.
Caraway.
It doesn't. It does not.
Pacino's girlfriend is 28.
And how old is he?
Let me check that.
Come on, man.
I think he's 82. I think Al Pacino's 82.
He's 83. I don't know if he's got
83.
I don't know if he's got a birthday coming up though.
Wow,
man.
All right, man, do what you guys do, man. Do what you guys do. 83 out here dating 20-year-olds and having babies. More power to you guys.
Them dudes said they was the Godfather, man. They wasn't playing.
Yeah, he's a fresh 83. Turned 83 in April.
Happy belated birthday.
Bring context to all of this. De Niro's 83 out there dating 28-year-olds. Robert De Niro's having baby. Jamie Foxx is 55. Man, it's 55 years old.
Oh, man. I ain't saying that. Clearly not saying nothing should happen to these guys that are in their 80s, but that's not fair, man. Like I said, I want to give another shout out to my man AJ. Who's out there doing everything he can, man. So big ups to him.
Oh, man. Matt George is going to join us coming up in about 40 minutes or so. They're definitely popping the blue chew, says Aceberg Slim. Hey, don't knock that blue chew, boy. Hey, don't knock that blue chew.
Damn near a medical miracle, bro.
Yeah, I ain't even gonna say what. Maybe that's on the commercial.
Say it, coward. God.
It's the offseason, Kenny. It's the offseason. Say it.
I don't know if I'd ever take one of those, man. You know what scared me was no, you know what scared me though was I Think I Love My Wife. Remember that scene?
No.
He took one and it never went away.
Yeah.
And they had to do something to get it to go away. Come on, man.
Yeah. So
I'm always thinking about worst case scenario.
Kenny holding this little blue packet. Oh, it's the worst that could happen if I take this little pill right here. I didn't even know until like 2 years ago you could buy those like at a gas station. Not like a blue chew, but like one of those pills. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I heard a comedian make a joke about it. I was like, what is he? I don't frequent like the counter at a gas station. Like I just go fill up the car and leave.
Right.
But yeah, I didn't know that was a thing.
They're all there. They're all there.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Mm-hmm.
You should try it though. That stuff, it's like taking caffeine before a workout, boy. Joker.
Is that C4?
It's just pre-workout times 10.
That's all it is. That's all it is. It's a little pre-workout.
Yeah, we need to go to break right now.
That's all it is. It's too early. Why you want to go to break? Well, we grown-ups. What are you talking about? This is grown folks. Like,
oh, man, bro. They got suggestions in the chat, man. Y'all wild, bro. Oh, wow, man.
Aceberg Slim, they got the honey packs. I don't even know what that is.
Oh, what's his name? Got his own brand. Cameron.
Cameron got his own enhancement pill.
It's like it's either a pill or like a rub or something, but it's like pink something.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't frequent with these things, so I don't know. But it's called the pink horse or something like that.
I just need to know how the rub would work. I feel like you don't really need to buy anything.
There you go, the pink horsepower. Yeah.
Oh man,
he got his own. He's had it for a few years too. Like I guess he's
hey,
he's moving units out here. Well,
wow.
Wow.
You couldn't have thought of a better way to phrase that.
It's done. It's done. Wrap it up.
Man, wow.
Pause. Pause.
And to the women that are listening, you can invest in these for your man. Very, very useful.
Cameron and Mace got like that show is like up and coming.
No, they're on
that's
fire right now.
Yeah,
they are on fire right now. Cameron, Mace, and Stat Baby.
Does Mace wear those glasses as a joke?
I don't know. He didn't wear glasses when he was like rapping. So
okay, I feel like it was a bit.
I don't know. Well, I mean, it's like Kenny Smith. Kenny Smith don't. Maybe they are prescription, but I feel like he just wears like stylish glasses.
You want to listen to Sham's latest report? He said Celtics expected starting lineup change in tonight's game 6.
They're starting Rob, I'm assuming.
I don't know. It's
over,
I think
over
it's,
Derek White.
I think it's a video.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's a video. I know it's a video.
I'd assume it's Robin for Derek White.
I'd play Shams, but I'm assuming he's not talking about moving units in blue chew.
Well,
so
there's that. There's that. Shout out to Chris Haynes who had to clean up his report. Did you see that?
The wheelchair one?
No, he did one pregame where he talked about how he texted with a prominent Laker player. And
I saw that.
And he said, they told me, let them continue to complain and bleep.
Mm-hmm.
Gotta do what you gotta do. Don't say it. Keep your job.
You're talking about himself edit. You said he had to clean it up. I thought you meant he had to backtrack it.
No.
Oh, okay.
What did you think he had to backtrack?
I didn't.
Oh
no, I misunderstood what you meant
he
by
had to clean up the text
that
he received.
I saw a friend of ours who works at our little sister radio station in San Francisco, who was not pleased with that report from Chris Haynes. I was like, "Hey, come on, man! What are we doing?
Come on, man! Come on,
Warriors! I'm telling you, don't let the Warriors come back from this 3-1 deficit.
Come on, man! Those my people too, man. They gotta chill, man. They gotta chill over there.
Them Warriors media people really think it's like them against the entire world. When it was Sacramento, it was the NBA was against them. Now everyone who covers the league is against the Warriors.
I mean,
all right, man.
This is just a good example, a good reminder of I don't want to sound like those guys when the Kings start winning championships. Like I don't want to have those type of thoughts. I don't want to convey those type of things out there that it's a conspiracy, that unfairly being fouled and we're being fouled, nothing's being called, a grand conspiracy and all this other stuff. Once again, the NBA was trying to fix the playoffs for the Kings, the Sacramento Kings, who they didn't even want on their television. All of a sudden, they're trying to fix the league for them.
And I didn't hear one person make the argument, they're just trying to get right for 2002. That would have been the most logical thing. Like, they're trying to fix what they did to them in 2002. And they didn't. They just threw nonsense around.
With the Lakers and Warriors foul stuff, like, Damien read off the numbers the other day. Like, it's not crazy.
When you're in the context of the season, it's not crazy at all. Like, this is what each team does.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you guys so confused by that? You want it to suddenly change. Play different. Play different and it might change.
Yeah, they got to stop with this. Everybody against them. That's crazy. That really is crazy. For a fan base and the franchise that has won as much as they have in recent years, nobody's against you, bro.
NBA is trying
Except
to take
for
down.
me, I'm against you, but I don't have any control over all this.
NBA is trying to take down its legacy franchise.
It's a bad look. I wondered.
Like
I do wonder.
McMahon bringing in the NWO,
right?
A lethal injection of poison.
I do wonder though, because Twitter is a cesspool, with a lot of this stuff. So I'm not holding Warriors Twitter or even Lakers Twitter against like the Bonte Hills. Like, I don't think Bonte Hill is the same as the things we see on Warriors Twitter.
Nah.
I don't think Jason Jones is the same that we see on Lakers Twitter sometimes.
Well,
but but I do wonder, like, is Denver and Phoenix having the same type of back and forth?
Man, I have no idea. I can't imagine Denver fans even talking trash. I have no. I assume you asked me that. I assume. Yes, I assume it is.
But I just like I follow Laker fans, right? Follow Warrior fans. I don't recall seeing any of my Laker homies saying, "Oh, this Grizzlies fan base is just disgusting." Like, I'm so tired of going back and forth. Like, it's always the Warriors.
Well,
every series.
Yeah.
Grizzlies, Kings, Lakers, they're all come away saying this fan base is disgusting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's always them.
I don't know. Boy, these fans in Denver. We'll come back. You mentioned the NFL schedule continues to leak out there. Plus, we'll give you an update. We've got the What's Cracking with Dr. Lance injury report on the way. Matt George, not too far away. We've got all that coming up here. Phone lines open for you, 916-909-1320. Steelo and KC. Brought to you by Sky River Casino here on Sacramento Sports Leader, ESPN 1320. Do Suns fans even ski? That's funny.
Oh.
Rob Williams is starting today for Derek White, too. That's what it was.
Yeah.
Probably should have been the case the entire time.
Like Kendrick Perkins with Kevin Garnett and
Greatest starting five of all time.
All time.
You see, Richard Jefferson was like, "Oh, they're on NBA Today, or whatever." And Richard Jefferson's like, "Oh, we're splitting hairs right now." And Perk was all, "You'd never split hairs."
I saw that. I saw that. Well, I saw the clip of it. That was funny. Uh-oh. Careful, David. Careful, David. Well, there you go. Oh, man. Pink horsepower.
Literally asked the other day, is cubed ice and crushed ice the most random thing we'll talk about? Nope. Only took 2 days.
Man. Wow. That is wild. Yeah, Sabonis using the ball as a weapon. What a line that was. What a line. You don't need to. I don't even know what we need to do yet, to be honest. But no, you definitely don't need to. It's some rub. Oh, if it's a rub, do you really need? No. It's one of Casey's funniest pauses ever. Talking about dick pills. I said they do moving units. I wonder if I could do this real quick with you guys in here. Let me go over to YouTube right quick. YouTube. I'm going to try something. I might need you guys' help. How do I do this? Switch account. Add account. They're going to make this difficult. Shoot. Crap. I'll figure this out later. Oh, man. Gonna start another YouTube channel. Gonna need you guys' help with. Bro, I am so far behind on wrestling. Like, is that Moxley and Omega? Was it good?
I caught the highlights of it. It was pretty dope.
Man, I have it. Like it's DVR'd. I'll check it out. I'm just really, really behind on wrestling, man. Really, really behind.
I don't even watch anymore. It's just do clips and stuff now.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember that. Goofy asses. Oh, there's that. It's just scrambled videos all day long. So what's cracking? Injury report with Dr. Lance, brought to you by Dr. Lance and Kazaza Chiropractic. God bless it. Rewind.
There you go. Take it from the top.
3, 2, 1. All right. So what's cracking with Dr. Lance injury report brought to you by Dr. Lance and Kazaza Chiropractic. Go to AskDrLance.com or shoot him a text message. Get your appointment scheduled. 916-707-0456. Mentioned this, not an injury, but a change in the Boston Celtics starting lineup. Rob Williams in. Jaylen Brown's good to go. Obviously, he has a facial fracture. He's going to be on the injury report forever, despite the fact that he keeps playing. Jamal Murray listed as questionable in tonight's game with the Phoenix Suns due to a non-COVID related illness. And Deandre Ayton is out with that rib contusion, as of course is Chris Paul with the left groin strain.
I mean, do you think Phoenix wins tonight?
Yes.
Even with all that going on.
Yeah.
I could see them.
Well, I mean, if Jamal Murray's out, and that's a if.
Mhm.
That's a if, because he's not out. He's questionable. But if Jamal Murray, I could. I mean, I can see it one more big night from Kevin Durant and Devin Booker. It's tough for me to see it twice.
Yeah.
Now that doesn't mean DeAndre Ayton can't play Game 7.
Right.
I'm assuming Chris Paul's not playing.
Right.
So,
and especially if you, I don't know if it matters, but if you win, if you figure out a formula to win, would you? I mean, it's Chris Paul. I guess you would bring him back for a Game 7, but
if you could, I don't know if you can.
Yeah.
But I can see them. I can see them getting another one. I can absolutely see them getting another one. But you used the line earlier: superstar performances.
Mhm.
That's what you need. And you need it from KD. You need it from Devin Booker. But you need something from someone else.
Right.
You absolutely have to have something from someone.
Campaign.
Like anybody. Your boy. That's the What's Cracking with Dr. Lance injury report, brought to you by our guy, Dr. Lance and Kazaza Chiropractic. Text him at 916-707-0456 or head over to his website, AskDrLance.com. Matt George set to join us coming up in about 25 minutes.
Real quick, Aceberg won in the chat. I think we talked about this, but it's a simple question, but I'd like to hear what you think. He says maybe somebody can answer this. Why are these NBA players getting more hurt than they did in the 90s? And I don't know if they're getting like more hurt. Maybe it just seems that way. But we talked about this when Kawhi, it came out, he tore his meniscus, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's this whole, you're always protecting for the load management. And these guys don't play all the time, but yet they're hurt all the time.
Yeah. I don't have an answer. I don't know. One, are we sure that they get hurt at a higher rate, or is the information just more readily available to us?
And see that's one thing I've always thought about too, right? Like, not to compare myself to NBA, but when I was younger, you sprain your ankle, it's all bad, and you're done maybe for that day, maybe the next day, and then you're back playing. You got a limp, you're not feeling great, you're not feeling 100%, but you're back playing. And I always wondered, I was like, I wonder if they have the same rolled ankles in the NBA that keeps them out for like 2 to 4 weeks, which, like, if you have the time, if you're taking care of your body, you probably should be out for 2 weeks, 3 weeks with a sprained ankle. I wonder if they have the same sprained ankle that I did playing at Reichmuth Park. And I was just like, all right, after 2 days, I'm back playing again. and they have the same one, they're out for 2 weeks. Not to say I'm tough or nothing like that, but like, is that the same thing, or is it more severe or anything? I don't know. But
well, it might not be the severity, but the level in which you have to play at.
mm,
Like, you can go back to the park or wherever and hobble and
Mm.
still be good, but can you do that like at the highest level?
right.
Like, assuming to your analogy, if the injuries are exactly the same,
Mm,
does it translate to doing it at one place and doing it at the other?
Right.
I don't know.
right.
Um,
But like, and the real simple way of looking at it is, and this is where I bring that up, because there might be a growing strain. Reggie Miller might have got a growing strain in '95, but I'm just talking regular season, not now with Chris Paul. But Reggie Miller wasn't out for 3 weeks,
mhm,
maybe missed a game, and it was back in there.
mhm.
And once again, I'm not saying they're tougher back then or nothing like that, but I'm just trying to figure out a reason why those guys regularly were playing 875 to 82 games and playoffs without the load management. And they were there all playoffs long. And then these guys seem to get hurt often.
Yeah, I do not have an answer to that. I think there's probably a lot of things that come into play. There are things people like. Money was probably, we know money was different back then.
Mhm.
That could play a factor. Now there are these big giant contracts that are fully guaranteed. I think NBA contracts back then were guaranteed too,
Yeah,
but they were much smaller.
Yeah, he makes $8 million a year.
Yeah, they were shooting. That was on the high end.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that was on the really high end.
That contract is absurd.
That's Dame's $60 million contract at this point that's coming into play. But there's also, like, if you ever get like a, what's it? What are those things called? I have one. The Roombas, the robots, the vacuums.
Mhm.
But like, if you get what, like, one of the original Roombas, right? Like, it'll do its job.
Mhm.
It'll vacuum. Like, maybe it gets stuck. Maybe the battery gets low and it stops in the kitchen. But for the most part, it'll just hit walls, chairs, bang into everything. But it'll pick up dirt. Someone said, "How can we make this smarter? What can we do that will make this function even better?" Let's add cameras to it. So that way it knows the house and it knows this. Okay. Well, you run into a few more difficulties when you do that. Because sometimes, the cameras get dusty, or sometimes you got to keep a light on because it's a camera. It can't move in the dark. Well, let's make an app so it learns the house. And so, like, you expand all of these different things, and it happens with computers and phones and iPads and anything, technical wise, that I think people can relate to this is sometimes the more technical you make something, the more jacked up it can be. Like, you've got smart refrigerators now that are connected to Wi-Fi, and you want the screen and you want to tap the door and the lights come on.
Right.
Well, how many times does the freaking ice maker not work? Now we've got like an evolution in shoes. Everybody played in like the same 4 pair of shoes back then. Everybody had access to the same 5. You had a massage therapist and like a hot tub. Now it's cryotherapy, and it's Theraguns, and it's acupuncture, and it's cups.
Yeah,
It's all of those different things where it's like, man, maybe we just made this more convoluted than maybe it's more convoluted than it needed to be.
Right.
Put on some sneakers and go play basketball.
Yeah.
And we look at it like, LeBron James, great example, an investment into his body. Chris Paul does too.
Yeah.
How's that working?
Right.
I think it's just it's an unanswerable question. But sometimes sometimes the more we like get into something and try to make it better, we might actually be making it worse.
And some things just can't be explained. Like, well, we can talk about this if you want to get into it. You think, I'm not saying he does exactly what LeBron James does, but you think Anthony Davis don't take care of his body? You don't think he stretches? You don't think he listens to the trainers?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that he does. But I know, Chris Paul does. Chris Paul did a big thing where he went plant-based during during the basketball season, and everybody asked him about it and going on a plant-based diet and what that means and what it means for your body and inflammation and all of that stuff. Chris Paul still gets hurt in the playoffs.
We talk about him all the time. I think Marvin Bagley probably tried what he could to stay healthy. He would listen to people. He couldn't stay healthy. Can't ever stay healthy.
Yeah.
It's just
something. You're right. Some
matter,
things are.
It doesn't matter how many games you hold him out of, or if you don't. Kawhi Leonard didn't play more than 3 games in a row this year. Still got hurt.
Yeah,
so I'm not saying the answer is to just run him into the ground, but I feel like people believe right now, and for a good reason, because science is, telling you things. If you don't play them as much, you'll preserve them and they'll last. And remember, I think when we talked about this, I think their careers might last longer. I don't know from season to season. They'll just remain healthier because of that.
The Kawhi Leonard injury was a major L for the load management community. That's what is your argument at this point? Because that's the president. That's your guy. And my man tore his meniscus in the playoffs. I don't know. That's tough. Let's stay here, sort of. You brought up Anthony Davis, and we haven't talked about this yet. You're listening to D-Lo and KC on KIFM West Sacramento, KRXQ HD2 Sacramento, ESPN 1320, always live on the free Odyssey app, live on Twitch as well, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, wherever you're listening or watching. We greatly appreciate it. If you're watching, particularly on YouTube, hit the thumbs up and hit the subscribe button, please. You mentioned Anthony Davis. Obviously, Anthony Davis, a big focal point of discussion today. He got hit by Kevon Looney last night, immediately grabbed. Thought he was grabbing his eye. Turns out he was grabbing the side of his head. Walked over to the sideline, started talking to the trainer. Trainer kind of grabs him, walks him over, sits him down. And then reports start coming in from Chris Haynes, who was working the sideline of that game, saying he's still on the bench, but they're going to head back to the locker room. Then he comes back and says he was taken back to the locker room in a wheelchair. And then there, discussions of a concussion started being thrown around. And for those who didn't see it, Anthony Davis was clearly seen walking out of the arena last night. He was not wheeled out of the arena on a wheelchair. He walked out. But Anthony Davis, because of his injury history and because prominent television people have labeled him a certain way, he has become the butt of jokes all day today, all night last night, and all day today. It started with Shaq and Charles Barkley, and Kenny Smith was a part of it as well, and bled into Stephen A. Smith and Jay Williams this morning, who were just having a good old time at Anthony Davis's expense.
I didn't see the whole thing on First Take. Is it fair to put Jay Williams in there? I felt like he kind of didn't like what Stephen A. was.
I feel
doing.
Like, nah.
But I didn't see. To be honest with you,
he was laughing.
I cut it off
like
a minute into the whole thing.
He was laughing as hard as Chuck was. So whether he agreed with it or not, he didn't do anything to stop it.
Say nah,
he didn't do anything to say, he didn't do any of that.
Yeah.
He just fed into it and kept laughing.
He's in there.
And so, sure. I have multiple issues with this. The main one being, Anthony Davis has been labeled so unfairly that Charles Barkley gets everyone to laugh by calling that man street clothes. We see guys, people recite that behavior, even in the chat house. People recite that line. Oh, that's street clothes. I think Trista had a name for him.
Data Davis.
All right. So the man gets hurt a lot. Now Anthony Davis gets hurt, and now we've gotten to the point with him where we don't believe he's hurt anymore because he's been labeled soft by Shaquille O'Neal. And so because Shaquille O'Neal said he's soft, that means he's soft. And I can't. And this was the morning where I just was looking at this rundown this stuff is embarrassing, man. This is what we do. This is what we do to get people to watch or to click or to retweet. This is what we do. We're questioning that man's health. You don't think Anthony Davis wants to play? You don't think Anthony Davis was doing everything he can to help the Lakers win last night? You think he was going to put himself in a position where he can't play in Game 6? What are we doing? Man, it was so silly to me. And it comes from the most prominent people in his profession. Chuck, Shaq, NBA TNT is the gold standard. Part of it is because they have fun, but they do have a lot of fun at players' expense. At players' expenses. And it's fine. That's the direction they go. Cool. Do that. But what you can never do with Stephen A can't get that little solemn voice when he wants to talk serious and tell you something. Y'all have lost the right to do all of that when you discuss someone's mental health. Because y'all go on television in front of millions and millions of people and trash these professional athletes. You talk about this as a brotherhood. Y'all played in that league and you trashing him. And you wonder why this stuff is recited by other people. You wonder why Anthony Davis is looked at the way that he's looked at. It's because you do it. So I'll say this. You could, hey, do your thing, get your clicks, get your retweets, get your viewers, but don't ever bring up a discussion about an athlete's mental health because you forfeited that right when you went on your show and trashed him because you contributed to it. Shaq's the biggest perpetrator of all. Name a big man Shaq hasn't trashed. Dwight Howard, one of the best we've ever seen. He gets looked at the way he gets looked at now because of the way Shaq talked about him. That dude for 8 years was the best center in this league. What do you remember about him? The way Shaq trashed him? Can't use Superman. I didn't give you the right to use Superman. That dude trashes a dude on his set for not winning a title. But hey, do you? Do you? Just know there's topics you can't discuss anymore because you're a perpetrator of it.
The thing that I don't like about the way they go after these guys sometimes is situations like Anthony Davis. And I said it a bunch of times with Marvin Bagley. I can't get mad at somebody who's injured. They're not trying to injure themselves. They're not trying to not be available to play. Some people get hurt. It's just what happens. Some people have bad injury luck. It's just what happens. I'm not going to make fun of Anthony Davis or Marvin Bagley for not being able, or anybody. I'm just naming those two that came to my mind, for not being able to stay healthy. It's very unfortunate. Very unfortunate. So I like the Inside Crew a lot. I love watching them, especially now in the playoffs. This is when they're at their best. But I thought last night was out of line. I thought last night was out of pocket. The way they were acting towards the Anthony Davis news. And then Stephen A, who since put out an apology. But
yeah, but
still,
see,
it's already
that's
done.
the thing that bothers me. Like, he put out that apology because of the way people reacted, not because of what he said.
Yeah. No.
He meant what he said. Then he got the blowback for it and was like, oh, okay, my bad. Nah, that ain't an apology. He don't get credit for that.
He was out of pocket this morning. He was completely out of pocket. And this is the part where, I even try to watch myself. Like, you want to have jokey jokes and laugh and all this other stuff. I'm not a comedian. Stephen A. Smith, you're not a comedian. I'm not in the profession of telling jokes and trying to be funny all the time. And Stephen A. thought he was being funny, thought he was being witty and all this other stuff. And he was out of pocket, completely out of pocket. So I just hope, moving forward, people kind of check themselves on that.
It's a great point by Keegan Murray Watch on YouTube. He posted the apology on Twitter. Now, Twitter obviously has a massive, massive audience, and I'm not suggesting that it doesn't. I hope he starts his show with an apology tomorrow.
You should.
You disrespected him on your television show, and you've made it clear that's your show.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Molly, hang on a second. I got to correct something.
Mm-hmm. Make
sure you keep that same energy tomorrow.
Yeah, I agree 100%, man. He, like I said, it was just really unfortunate with the guy, who got seriously hurt last night. To the point where I bet he didn't say, "Get me a wheelchair."
Oh, 100%.
There were people who were like, "Yo, let's
sit down."
Yeah.
Let's
be easy real quick.
There's a video of him going to the sideline. I think it's before I don't know if it's before he sits down the first time or before he starts to head to the tunnel. But you can clearly see, I assume it's the trainer, react and grab his arm. So clearly there was something happening with him that individual was uncomfortable with.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm sure he didn't say, go get me a wheelchair.
Right.
It's just like, hey, let's just get to the back and like get you figured out.
Right.
Clearly Chris Haynes saw it, reported it. That's his job. And then it got turned into Anthony Davis left the arena in a wheelchair. No, he didn't. He left. He dressed, nice outfit, nice bag, walked out of the arena.
Yeah.
Didn't have a black eye like Domas did, but he got hit right in the side of the head.
Right. That could do a number of different things.
I think he got hit in the temple because there's that when he went to the bench and he's doing that thing with his eyes and his eyes are watering. That to me, because if you ever been punched in the temple, they make like your eyes start like when I used to box with people. Oh yeah, getting hit. There's just that right there. You don't know what's like your eyes start to change. Like all sorts of bad things are happening.
Yeah. Like I said, man, it's unfortunate that would happen. And then like you talked about with the inside crew, it's unfortunate that those former players would be that way with one of, quote unquote, one of their own. You talk about the fraternity and all this other stuff. Like you should be looking, people might say it's soft or whatever. You should be looking to protect a guy like that from the Stephen A. Smiths, from the Skip Baylesses. You guys played. You guys been through those wars. You know what I mean? You should be looking to protect those guys. If anything, give them all the leniency that you can in those situations. But yeah, man, they do the exact opposite. Disappointed, man. I like those guys. I'm not here to talk crazy about them. I like Charles. I like Kenny. I like Shaq. I appreciate their point of view on a lot of different stuff, but they missed the ball, man. They missed the ball.
Anthony Davis is a great basketball player too.
He is.
He's a great basketball player.
All the things that they say about him when they're like he's inconsistent and he doesn't always show up. You have a good game. That's all fair game. I didn't like the whole thing with, kind of questioning his injury or making light of him being injured. The other stuff they say about him as a ball player and somebody that's supposed to be a superstar who doesn't always show up, I think that's fair game. That's what they get paid to do. I don't have any problem with that. Just the injury stuff, like regardless, I'm always of the belief, regardless of how I feel, what I may think, I'm just going to lean to the side of the person is hurt. I'd rather be wrong about them being hurt than be wrong about saying they're not hurt, if that makes any sense. So,
two potential closeout games tonight: Boston at Philadelphia, Denver at Phoenix. We just ran over the injury report just a little bit ago. We saw Boston make a change in their starting lineup. Philadelphia was on point in Boston a couple of nights ago. I think Boston's going to be on point tonight. I think I think both these series wind up tied when we're back here tomorrow morning. Not a knock on Denver, by the way. I know I've never given Denver their proper respect. I will now. It's a very, very good basketball team that may very, very, very well win the NBA championship. But I think there's a little KD magic left. I think there's a little Devin Booker magic left. And then I'm all for, figuring out one time, winner take all.
It could be right, man. It could come down to that. I think they both win tonight.
Man.
Congratulations, Jesse. Since I picked the Sixers.
You are the Charles Barkley
to
the Boston Celtics.
To the Celtics. Well, yeah. I mean, I had them winning both series. I had them winning the first round series. I just said it was going to go 6. It did. And I had them winning this one. I had them winning this one in like 6 or 7, but I did have them winning the other day.
Yeah, you did.
And they got
them winning 2 in a row. Yeah, they did. Goodness gracious. They came out with nothing. That's tough. Like you can't do that. And sometimes I think those moments help. Not that Philadelphia won't have a say in what happens tonight. I think sometimes those moments can help a team.
They'll be locked in though.
Yeah,
I think they'll be locked in and ready to go today. If Philly's going to win, they're going to have to play their A game.
I'm all for anything that happens in these series except for one.
Yeah, I don't want that.
There's only one thing I'm rooting
I don't
for.
want the Warriors to win at all.
In fact, I'm rooting so hard for it. I'm fearful I'm the one who's causing this to happen.
The only thing that would be good from the Warriors winning is Reese likes the Warriors.
That wouldn't be good. No,
he'll be happy.
It's not enough.
I agree.
It's not enough. We'll come back. Matt George joins us. We mentioned this a couple of days ago, but didn't really dive into it, how the Athletic got everyone pissed off with their redrafting of last year's draft class. What brought the article to my attention was Matt, and he had a sort of lengthy exchange with the writer. And so we'll talk to Matt about that. And of course, the Kings getting two all NBA players and what he thinks about next year. So we'll do that when the host of the Locked On Kings podcast joins us next here on D'Lo and KC, brought to you by Sky River Casino on Sacramento Sports Leader ESPN 1320. Trying to figure out if I've ever eaten Arby's.
I don't believe I have.
I don't think
anyone's ever eaten Arby's.
Well, Charlie has. That's what made me. Charlie's got that Arby's cup over there.
Charlie, I don't know what will make him go to Arby's today, especially when I see him go to Chick-fil-A. So there must be one around. If you're hungry and you don't want McDonald's or something, just go to Chick-fil-A.
Got to switch it up.
I went to something in the parking lot of the Chick-fil-A in Roseville, and I would have rather driven my car into a wall than navigate that restaurant. Like they have like cones. Like I don't know if this is every Chick-fil-A restaurant.
Yeah, they'll do that. Like at the In-N-Out and Chick-fil-A on Arden, sometimes they'll do that just so they separate it or something like that. Make the lines nicer. I don't know.
So I've seen it in In-N-Out. In-N-Out, it's pretty easy to like figure out what's going on. This place, I was like, yo, what the hell are y'all doing? How many people are here to get a chicken?
A lot, I'm sure.
Piece of chicken.
A lot.
Chick-fil-A a little overrated too.
Settle down.
It is.
Calm down.
A little bit.
It's the best.
I don't even eat it, and I don't think it's overrated.
It's not even the best chicken sandwich.
What is?
Popeyes.
No,
Popeyes by far.
Popeyes tried. It's cool. It's cool, but it's not better than.
It was Pleasant Grove.
I get the
Pleasant Grove.
The Chick-fil-A sauce.
Oh,
so that's what takes it over the top.
See that you can't do that. I shouldn't have to put sauce.
We have a situation. Hello, Matt.
Is there Chick-fil-A slander happening on this show?
You look like the Macho King.
Oh, yeah.
That's who you look like. You look like the Macho King.
The Macho King says, don't slander Chick-fil-A.
Huh.
Chick-fil-A spicy chicken sandwich is bomb, Jesse.
That's covering you up. Nope, not that. Come on, dummy. There we go.
Chick-fil-A's fire, but I don't like how I have to like create my own sandwich, putting sauce on it and stuff like that.
Well, no, you don't got to do that. Just get.
You can buy that sauce at the store.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, fuck both of y'all. I saw it for the first time. I was like, wow, I didn't know this was a thing.
Yeah, you can buy Panera bread, mac and cheese at the store too, which is pretty good. You can buy all Panera's salad dressing, which are really good. They're overpriced, but they're really good. I worked at Panera for like a year and a half.
I did not know
I don't
that.
like Panera.
Panera is, sorry, potential sponsor. Panera is overpriced, but some of their stuff is really good.
You know what's perfect? Bennett's. Bennett's Kitchen is perfect.
I've never been to Bennett's.
It's right by us. It's amazing. Amazing. I need to make more time to eat there. Well, we're going to do that interview too. I think we're doing the interview first, like at 4.
In that email.
Yeah, I know. But Complex asked us. So I'll double check with him to make sure he still wants us to do it. Yeah. Tomorrow? Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm gonna try something different tomorrow. I'm gonna try the new camera we got. Yeah. No, it's tomorrow. No, I'm gonna try using that new camera we have. Do you use a microphone when you do Locked On Kings? You don't have a handheld microphone, do you? Like when you're at the arena?
Oh yeah, the microphone we use at the arena, it's the stick mic that we use for our newscasts. It's a wireless handheld stick mic.
Oh, okay. I'm trying to remember seeing you hold one, and I can't remember.
Yeah, it's just the stick mic we as reporters use, and we keep the ABC 10 flag on and everything. So that's just for like post game episodes.
Yeah. Okay. So are we getting out early too? Okay. Sorry, Matt. This is a long break because we're going to basketball right after the game.
Oh, good.
I saw this brought up a couple of times. I didn't know Mark apologized for the Jokic thing. I didn't see it.
What even was the Jokic thing?
He didn't put Jokic in the top. He has an MVP vote.
Oh yeah.
He put Jokic in the top 5. He had Tatum, Shea, and Donovan in there.
I mean, you can be wrong, but do you have to apologize? Do you really have to apologize for your top 5? You don't have to apologize. You can be wrong, but you don't have to apologize. Like my top 5 would be different. I'm not apologizing for it.
Yeah, that is kind of crazy.
I could be wrong.
Is it though if you leave Jokic off when he should be on?
If you happen to see a giant individual walking around the Republic game yesterday, that was John Poles.
I thought you were going to say
literally looks like Big John Stud.
Oh, okay. If you have to see a guy walking the sidelines that looks like one of the goalposts, that's me.
Why are you dressed like that?
What are you talking? I mean, it's an award thing, man. I mean, what really matters is postseason awards and regular season awards. And what the Sacramento Kings did is they cleaned up on the regular season awards. So in what really matters, like whoever can get their ring or whatever, but what really matters is postseason awards, and the Sacramento Kings absolutely cleaned up. So it's a celebration day.
I'm with it. I like
it. Celebration day.
I like it. I like that. That's good thinking.
And I bought these for after the playoffs or during the playoffs and never got to wear them. So I found an excuse to.
There's that. Steve Kerr got to Darvin Ham, and the Warriors got into the Lakers' heads. All people not named LeBron. From Willard and Dibbs. We're coming back, Matt. I'm telling you, the Warriors coming back from a 3-1 deficit will be the worst thing to ever happen. Just the absolute worst, especially against LeBron James and the Lakers. As we welcome in the King, the host of the Locked On Kings podcast and a great sports reporter over at ABC 10, rocking his D-Lo and KC hoodie, looking strangely similar to the Macho King Randy Savage, our buddy Matt George. Matt, you look spectacular today.
It's a victory Thursday, man. It's a victory Thursday. Even though the beam isn't lit, which it should be for 2 All-NBA players the first time in Sacramento history, the beam should be lit. It's a victory Thursday because like I was telling you before we came back on the air, in the ways that truly matter, which is postseason awards and individual awards, the Sacramento Kings are cleaning up and stomping everybody into the dirt. So you know what? You can have your rings, you can have your playoff series, whatever. That's common. There's multiple people in that area. Well, there's not multiple people at the top of the mountain that is awards. And the Sacramento Kings have the Coach of the Year, Clutch Player of the Year, Rebound King. They got the Executive of the Year. They got 2 All-NBA players, which only the Boston Celtics can say. When what really matters, the Kings are crowned. So a crown is out today, and purple shades are out today, and the beam should be lit one more time.
So really what should happen,
thinking about it,
I mean, based on what Matt said, it should be the Celtics versus the Kings in the NBA Finals. Like, what are we doing?
And the Celtics actually can't compete with the Kings in reality because the Kings, out of those 2, are the only 2-time Summer League champs. So again, in every way that matters, the Sacramento Kings are cool. Like, y'all can have your rings, they're shiny, whatever. Like, it's okay, you can flex that, but Kings are kings of the awards. All right.
To be honest with you, like when I think about this, outside of an NBA championship, what have the Kings not done?
It's a good point.
Summer League.
And let's talk about what's harder for a second. Is it harder to win an NBA championship? Someone does it every year, or is it harder to clean up on most awards? Like, what's harder? I mean, I didn't even mention all rookie teams. So really, what's harder? Like a team getting multiple different areas of recognition from multiple different players, having a great rookie while also having all NBA players and a coach of the year and executive of the year. That's harder than winning a ring. So you know what? You can have your ring. We'll sit on this mountain.
Yes.
It's all very logical thinking by everyone involved.
I'm not in denial.
You're out here playing chess.
I'm struggling.
Hey, Matt, by the way, why do you have those glasses? Because I can't like picture Matt George like, yeah, these are my shades that I drive around in. Like,
absolutely not. No, because I went onto Amazon and typed in purple glasses, and these are the ones that came up that I liked the most. That actually kind of reminded me of Kenny Caraway shades.
I like them. I like the shades.
I got them. You're not going to like the price, but they do the job.
Well, the price don't matter.
Oh, I mean,
it don't matter
for the manufacturing. It does, and I certainly got what I paid for.
Well, yeah, but Kenny, like Kenny doesn't even look at price tags. He's like,
I know. Kenny just grabs and scans. I have to look at it and put it in my cart, and even if it's $10, I'm still like, ooh, could it be $5?
Kenny ain't checked the bank statement in at least half a decade.
Don't listen to these people. I'll be bargain shopping. Man, that's for sure.
He'd be bargain shopping in his freaking Tesla. Get me out of here.
Bargain shopping. I don't know. I may or may not have a Tesla.
All kidding aside, what do you think this all NBA these all NBA selections, and really, we'll piggyback off of what you were saying a second ago, Kings really did have an extraordinary, awards season, if you will. What does that say to this season that the Kings have? But more importantly, what does it say about moving forward?
Well, I think first and foremost, it's a true acknowledgement of Sacramento's return and in many ways arrival. Like, to me, what the awards say are the Sacramento Kings did something this year that cannot be ignored and has to be acknowledged, and acknowledged on multiple fronts. Again, it's one thing if they just had the coach of the year or just had all NBA talent. The fact that so many areas are getting awards, so many, like from front office to coaching staff to players to rookies, suggests to me, and individual like numbers, rebounds, things like that too, clutch player of the year. Like what the Sacramento Kings did as a whole cannot be ignored. They also had like Malik Monk receiving votes for sixth man of the year. So they were all over so many different areas of basketball awards, which says what we all knew about this year, which was it was an incredible year, an incredible ride, vibes, fun. The acknowledgement is excellent. But now, like I wear this get up today because in reality, like today is the last day I think we can truly feel like this. We can always remember this season and be fond of this season. But today feels like the last day, the day after the All-NBA. Really, you could say yesterday was the last day that it's celebration of what was. Because now the is and the reality is there's expectations. The only way the Sacramento Kings are going to ever get this acknowledgement again is if they're exceeding expectations again or meeting expectations, which is placed upon them by results. So we're talking, it doesn't necessarily, seeding isn't as important. So it doesn't mean the Kings have to be a top 3 seed again next year. But Monty McNair has talked about becoming a 50+ win team, winning playoff series, making deep runs. And I know we talked about this last time. The context of if they lose a playoff series or not is significant as to how healthy they are and who they play and yada, yada, yada. But this Kings team is trying to build into something. I had G-Man on my show on Locked On Kings yesterday, and one of the things he pointed out was the Sacramento Kings returned to the playoffs and were first-round eliminations 2 straight years before they went on their run. So it could happen again that the Kings are eliminated 2 years in a row, but what does that look like? We don't really know. But ultimately, the Kings have to build upon what they did. That's the expectation to this point. So this year was vibes. This year was fun. This year, the awards are coming because the Kings deserve it with their return. Now they have to stay here and build upon it. Nobody's going to give Mike Brown a Coach of the Year award for getting back to this same point. At this point, Mike Brown, if he's a two-time Coach of the Year, it's because the Sacramento Kings are a number 1 seed flirting with 60 wins and are expected to make a deep championship run. So the awards are great now, but they're not coming again unless you really, really do something.
Mike is a 2-time Coach of the Year, just for fun.
Yes,
but I know what you meant. A 2-time Kings Coach of the Year.
Yeah. Do you with the selection of Domantas Sabonis and De'Aaron Fox to the All-NBA team, do you feel like the whole cornerstone argument or search for the Sacramento Kings is done? They have the cornerstones, they have the foundation, and these two guys can be the best players on a championship team? Or do you think they need maybe one more? That doesn't have to be better than them, but one more star type player.
I think championship is where the answer gets a little muddied. I think for sure 100% De'Aaron Fox has proven that he can be a star on a team that wins. And championship is, to me, what De'Aaron has to do. The next step that De'Aaron has to make simply is scoring, consistent scoring. And while he was the clutch player of the year and he averaged what, 25 points per game or something around that. Like, the next step for De'Aaron is he was an all-star by injury replacement. I would argue he shouldn't have been. I'm very glad he was named to the All-NBA third team and acknowledged as a top 15 player in the NBA. I actually have a question for you about that, so remind me to get back to that later. But De'Aaron has to get to that status of, oh no, he's in no matter what. Whether it's as a reserve or starter, that doesn't really matter, but we have to put De'Aaron Fox in the All-Star game because of this. This is what he's doing. It's very similar to what like the voters said with Dame Lillard, right? Like, Dame Lillard's on a terrible team in Portland, but his numbers and his scoring and what he's doing is so sensational. We have to put him in there. That's why he got a reserve spot and De'Aaron Fox didn't. So to me, the next step of De'Aaron Fox's game is you don't have to win clutch player of the year again. The Kings are going to need you to be that fourth quarter scorer, I think, consistently if they want to have a chance to win a championship. But can you consistently enter the fourth quarter with 17 to 20 points? So that when you go off in the fourth, you're now in the 30s to sometimes flirting with 40. I'm not saying Fox is to score 30 to 40 points a night, but can he be a 27, 28 points per game scorer that is doing it for all 4 quarters, not just the third and fourth? The Kings didn't need Fox to be that guy for all 4 quarters to win. And I think that was good coming into this season because that's what they needed in years past for them to even have a chance. It took some of that weight off of Fox's shoulders. I'm not saying now let's put that weight back on, but if Fox wants to be essentially, and it's really unfair to compare Fox to Steph Curry or Jimmy Butler because they're sensational talents, but if Fox can become that guy that in a playoff series game 7 can say, if we need 40 or 50, I'm going to go do it. That's the next step for him. And he can only really prove that by being back on that stage. So a long-winded way of answering your question, I think Fox can be that guy for a championship team. I think there's still question marks with Sabonis. There's still question marks with a lot of guys in this roster. And those questions aren't really going to be answered unless they're given a chance in like a Western Conference Finals or NBA Finals run. But Fox showed me enough this year to where, yeah, I can rely on him as a number 1 on a team that can win. And that was good enough for me.
I want to get to your boy, Keegan Murray, here in a second, because there's obviously been a ton of discussion about him this week. And I got caught in your Twitter thread after that Athletic article went up, and I want to get to that as well. You said you had a question regarding All NBA.
Yeah, so I believe next year, and I think the guys on NBA and TNT were talking about this. Next year, it goes positionless. All NBA teams go positionless.
Mm-hmm.
My question was, and I asked Chris Biederman this on my podcast today, if it was positionless this year, do the Sacramento Kings have one or any All-NBA players? Domantas Sabonis to us was a lock because there were not 3 centers in the league that were better than him. Joel Embiid, Nikola Jokic, absolutely. And I'd say both of those guys are in no matter what. They're top 15 players no matter what. I don't know if Domantas Sabonis gets in if it's positionless this year. De'Aaron Fox, though, I think has a better chance than Sabonis, even though Sabonis had a better chance at all NBA because of positions, period. I'm curious what you guys think. If it was positionless this year, do the Kings have 2, 1, or none of all NBA talent?
Off the top of my head, I think they both get on. I'm trying to, I don't know if there's anybody that would replace them. Anthony Davis was looked at as a bit of a snub. John Morant was looked at as a bit of a snub. And I understand the question, like, maybe people broaden, who they think should get on if it's positionless. But off the top of my head, I can't think of 2, 3, 4 guys that should have been on if it would have been positionless.
I think it only boils down to 2, in my opinion. Would Ja have gotten on?
Mm-hmm.
Would Anthony Davis have gotten on?
See, I don't think Ja would have got on.
So but I think that's all we're talking about. Yeah. I'm with Kenny in the sense that I think both still get on even if it's positionless.
And I agree too, because again, it's an acknowledgement of the great season that the Sacramento Kings had. As for next year, though, like De'Aaron Fox has to do what I was just talking about in order to I think stay as an all NBA player. But even if he does that, now we're talking first or second team. Like we're talking the recognition that SGA got. If he becomes that nightly consistent everyday scoring threat while also continuing to improve as a defender, being the playmaker that he is. And I don't think De'Aaron has to change a lot of what he does to be that. He just has to be able to be that for 4 quarters instead of like a lot of what we were talking about this season is De'Aaron coasting through the first half. And then in the third and fourth quarter, he starts to turn it on. He could get away with that. And that was working for the Kings this year. But can he be acknowledged as the guy if he's doing that consistently versus being a 4 quarters threat like a Steph Curry is or like the true stars in this league are, to where they could have a quiet 20 by the start of the fourth quarter and you can look up at the scoreboard and go, damn, I didn't realize he had 20. And now suddenly it becomes 30, suddenly it becomes 40, and the Sacramento Kings win the game off of the back of the best fourth quarter scorer in the league. That's what's next. And I think that's an all NBA second or first team guy if he can become that.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you. I had to double check. I assumed, but I did need to double check. This was Domas's first All-NBA recognition. Mm-hmm. He has been an All-Star 3 times, but this was his first recognition in the All-NBA. So,
and Fox got a first-team vote, and he got a lot of second-team votes too. So there are some guys that were ready to even elevate him higher than third, which I think is appropriate.
Shout out to Mike Wilbon.
Shout out to Mike Wilbon. Big ups to
him. We've had a lot of discussions this week, Matt, about Keegan Murray, and we're talking free agents and potential trades. We've talked not quite as much as we normally would in May, but we've talked the draft and potential fits there. But one thing that seems to be regularly referenced is when Monty talks about maintain and improve, the biggest improvement could potentially come from someone on their roster, and that being your guy, Keegan Murray.
I agree 100%. I think Keegan Murray is, if the Kings are looking for what they need, I think is another create your own shot, consistent scorer. Mm-hmm. There is nobody on this roster that is more likely of taking that position than Keegan Murray at this point in time. And that's going to stay the same unless Monty goes out and finds another one of those guys. And I think that's appropriate for Keegan. That doesn't mean that he has to be creating his shot the majority of the time up the floor. It's still going to be De'Aaron doing that, and they're still going to run the ball through Domantas Sabonis a ton. But the Kings needed in this playoff series another guy that when Fox is taken out of the play or Fox is on the bench getting a breather and Domantas Sabonis is struggling, another guy that can create for himself. And we saw like stretches of that with, especially in, I think it might have been Game 7, where the Kings in the third quarter went through Harrison Barnes in the post like 5 out of 8 possessions straight. Like they just said, go to the post, Harrison, go get us a bucket. We need you to score, and we know you can create in the post, and kind of emphasize that mismatch there. So to me, Keegan Murray is the most likely guy to become that. And I like what I do think Monty tipped his hand a little bit in his postseason press conference, where he kind of said a lot of the Sacramento Kings getting better has to do with the core of 24, 25, 26-year-olds here in Sacramento that have to improve. So again, I don't think big splash moves are coming this summer. It would be great, and Monty's going to keep his eye out, but I think the moves that are coming are more rotational pieces, decisions on role players, figuring out what to do with Harrison. That's going to be the biggest question. Figuring out what to do on draft night, adding complementary pieces, maybe bringing Sasha over. And then it's still on Fox, Sabonis, Herter, Monk, Mitchell, Keegan, the core 6 here to continue to improve. And I think it's natural to expect them to improve off of just the basis alone of, again, these guys haven't been together for a full year yet. And this is what they were capable of doing. Now they know each other. Now they understand each other. Can they get to the point where they're simply reacting and not thinking? Very similar to what the Warriors do. The Warriors know where each other is at all times, which is a credit to Kerr and his staff and what they've built there and the system that they've built there. I think Mike can do the same thing here in Sacramento with a group that has now played together for over a year.
Yeah, I wonder, we had a question earlier. I think Jesse asked it, like, what if Keegan could get to 17 to 20 points a game? And if he can do that, that's the third man.
Yeah.
What the hell is going on here? Mm-hmm. That's the third man.
I got you. I'm a little slow. I wasn't ready for it, but I got you.
What is he doing? My God! Is he the third man? He's the third man. What the hell is going on here?
Keegan Murray. The black beard and the leg drop.
Is he the third man? He's the third man.
No, I'm picturing Keegan with a handlebar mustache, and I need to see it.
Terrific.
But, I mean, if he can get to that, we got action. I'll ask you, Matt, because I'm not sure. You think he can get to that type of level? Can you see in his second season, not ever, but in his second season, Keegan getting to 17 to 20 points per game?
I can see that becoming part of the Kings' emphasis, if that makes sense. Meaning, I think Keegan's job this year was to be a steady starter, and he's still going to be asked to be that as a second-year player, of course. But as a rookie, it's like, hey, learn as much as you can, but fit right now because we need you to. And if you don't, then you're going to sit next to me on the bench. I think next year we're going to see an emphasis of Mike, and we even saw it to some extent in the playoffs, a draw up for Keegan. Like, let Keegan work, get Keegan involved. And we saw that in stretches at times, but even Mike said, when I asked him about this during the Kings Warriors series, Mike said, like, there are times that Keegan can naturally get lost as a scorer because there are so many scoring options on the Sacramento Kings at any given time, whether it's trying to get Herter involved, trying to get Monk involved. Like, there's just so many scoring options on this roster that at times Keegan would kind of get lost. I think that changes next season. I think you see an emphasis of getting Keegan the ball and giving him opportunities. When I had Fran McCaffrey on just last week, head coach of Iowa, had him back on, and he talked about Keegan's post game that wasn't even featured. And Keegan was a really good post scorer in college, did a lot in the post in Iowa. Maybe we see more of that a little bit, or give him opportunities. Hey, clear out the wing, give him an opportunity on the wing to go one-on-one. He's shown that he's trying to do a better job of attacking the glass and going aggressive. That's why I love the start to Game 5 so much. He established himself with 2 shots at the rim where he lowered his shoulder and went up strong. He didn't dunk them, but it didn't matter. Like, he established the inside game first. Can he do that on a consistent basis? To be a 17 to 20 point scorer is a big leap, Kenny, to your point. And the answer is, I don't know if he can do that. I think he's capable of doing that. I think that's a lot to ask out of a second-year player. I'll say this. If he does that, the Sacramento Kings are in extremely good shape. Extremely good.
The Athletic recently wrote an article redrafting the 2022 class. And I became aware of it from a Matt George tweet. And I was like, oh, Matt's fired up. Oh, what's this article? I mean, look at the article. Okay, I see why Matt's fired up. Now Matt had a very lengthy exchange with the writer who was
Sam Vecini.
And just a quick note, and then I want to get your thoughts on this, Matt. A quick note to content creators. If it takes too long to explain what you're doing in your content, don't do it. Because my guy had like, well, no, it's not an evaluation of how they played this year or how they. He basically said it's kind of a gut feeling. It's like, oh, Sam, this is an L. But he really hedged his bet with Keegan Murray, who he put instead of 4th, he put 7th. Funny, he put Jaden Ivey, a player that the Sacramento Kings could have drafted at 4th, but also said,
Come on, Sam.
I see the argument for making him third. And it was
talking
like,
about Keegan.
Talking about Keegan. But he put him at 7.
Okay, sir.
And I watched this back and forth, Matt, between you and Sam in great joy, because I know you must have been fired up when you read the article.
Well, my initial tweet to it was, Sam, this has to be a joke to trigger losers like me on social media who are like protective of Keegan and riding the high of the great season that the Kings had and going, like, are you just being this guy for clickbait purposes? But I will say this, like, I've had Sam on the podcast before. I like Sam a lot. I think Sam does a lot of really good writer. He has really good draft coverage every single year. So I really appreciate what he does. That's why I wasn't necessarily angry. I was just I was confused. Like, it doesn't make sense. And his entire article is based off of the idea of upside, which I think is stupid because upside was the argument against drafting Keegan Murray the entire process. And that argument was used here in Sacramento. Jaden Ivey has higher upside. Jaden Ivey has all this athleticism. Jaden Ivey has all this flash and flare. Keegan Murray's more of like a safe pick. Like, we know what he does. He's a good shooter. He did this and he did that.
I don't like the voices you're using because I feel like you're trying to make an unnecessary point here.
No, it's not directed at you. I honestly don't remember what your guys' take on the situation was. I know all I remember from pre-draft, truthfully, with this show was that Kenny was super high on Shaedon Sharpe, who was one of the 6 guys. And that's fine. Like, I think Shaedon Sharpe is a baller. I think that's exciting. Turn off your phone, Matt. Anyway, Keegan, like,
stressed himself out.
Keegan not only is a contributor to a winning team right away, he still has all the upside on the planet. What has Keegan Murray done this season that suggests that his upside is not as high as guys on losing rosters? It doesn't make any sense to me. You draft for upside, you draft for potential. This guy has the potential to be an all-star. He has the potential to be a 17 to 20 point scorer as early as next season, like we're literally talking about right now. We're talking about the most 3-pointers as a rookie, period. We're talking about a starting contributor in the playoffs. Now, granted, if Keegan had 7 games like the first 3, okay, maybe you can build a little bit of a stronger argument. But I would argue that Keegan Murray was a top 3 player on the Sacramento Kings games 4 through 7. He just happened not to be featured as much as he should have after the hot start in game 5, which I put on both Keegan and the Sacramento Kings, period. But those 4 games, Keegan had the Warriors' number. He figured something out, and the Warriors couldn't stop him anymore or couldn't figure out how to get him to struggle the same way that he was struggling in the first 3 games. In every facet, like every time he was challenged to be a better rebounder, play better defense, help on weak side defense, better rotations, attacking the basket stronger, every public and private challenge that Mike Brown issued to his rookie, that rookie stepped up to the plate and matched. He showed tremendous growth in year 1 and again continued to contribute to an actual winner when all these other players, I understand why Paolo Banchero won Rookie of the Year, sensational talent, his numbers are nuts. He's on a losing team, which is expected from a top pick. What happened with Keegan Murray is not expected from a top pick. And I think in these conversations of redrafts and upside and Rookie of the Year, it is not acknowledged appropriately how that rookie is contributing to winning basketball. It's not acknowledged enough because it's a numbers and individual award, which I completely understand. I'm fine with Keegan not winning Rookie of the Year, but to suggest that if there was a draft done today, that Keegan Murray would go 7th and that 6 players would be picked ahead of him because of upside is asinine. It's stupid. That would be 6 dumb teams, or I wouldn't say 6. I'd say at least 4 dumb teams that are deciding that upside is better than proven talent that can still get better. I think it was a ridiculous kind of silly redraft and silly argument that got a reaction out of me, so it worked.
Yeah, tell me more about how you're not fired up.
Anyway, I'm more mad at myself for my phone going off.
Oh, it's fine. That's character of the show.
Yeah. Well, look, I agree with everything the Matt said. I really do. I agree. The only thing, and I would have had Keegan Murray going higher, in a redraft in 7th. Absolutely. There's a number of different reasons for that. The only thing that I would say about the upside is there are some questions about the upside of Keegan Murray. For me, the only real question there is will he ever be somebody that can create his own shot? Then you look at, a lot of the guys that he had in front of him, which again, it's just one aspect. That's not a reason to say, hey, I would take this guy over Keegan Murray. But some of those guys their upside to be a 3-level scorer. Right now, maybe I'm a little more confident in that from some of those other guys than Keegan. But like we continue to say, if Keegan shows that he can do that, he can be a 3-level scorer. Everybody always talks about Middleton. If he can get to the point where his handle was what Chris Middleton's was, and he could score off the bounce on three different levels, like Chris Middleton, now we got something.
Yeah, there's different aspects of upside. I mean, in reality, you draft players to help you win basketball games. Like, that's the point. The point is not to, I mean, the Kings have done for nearly 20 years of drafting players that maybe could put up fun numbers. Tyreek Evans, 25-5. Woo! He won Rookie of the Year. Woo! The Sacramento Kings were absolute garbage. DeMarcus Cousins, not his fault, by the way, but DeMarcus Cousins dominated numbers-wise. The Sacramento Kings never won more than 30 games, or I don't even think they got to the 30-win mark, if I'm not mistaken. Like, woo! Paolo Banchero is going to put up amazing numbers and has far better potential to be a superstar than Keegan Murray does. I can acknowledge that while also going, I think Keegan Murray, if you put Paolo Banchero in Sacramento and ask him to do the same job that Keegan Murray was doing, he wouldn't have been as effective because that's not what Paolo Banchero does. If Paolo Banchero was here in Sacramento, tremendous upside, a lot of reasons to be excited. The Sacramento Kings play a completely different brand of basketball than they played, and I don't know if it's as successful. What I know is what the Kings did with Keegan Murray as a rookie this year was successful. And there's no reason to believe he won't continue to get better because he's just going to get bigger. He's going to get stronger. He's going to get smarter. Like, and he's shown tremendous growth over the course of his rookie season. So upside is subjective. Like, I understand. Oh, Chet Holmgren has better upside than Keegan Murray. Okay, I know Keegan Murray can actually play NBA basketball. I don't even know if Chet Holmgren can. I think he has star potential up the wazoo. Is he going to be able to step onto a basketball floor other than summer league?
Where is the wazoo?
Well,
never mind. Don't answer. Don't answer. Might edit this together with our Blue Chew conversation earlier.
The only one that on the redraft, to be fair, that like I would have had Keegan probably at 4 again in a redraft. You're taking the teams and all this other stuff.
I'd have been fine with that.
But you can make an argument for 5 of the 6 before Keegan. The Jeremy Sohan one.
Yeah.
That's just being ridiculous at this point.
And I'm surprised too that if you had told me in a redraft that there would be 6 rookies ahead of Keegan Murray and Walker Kessler wouldn't be one of them. Because Walker Kessler, again, was a impactful win-now player, granted on a so-so team on the Utah Jazz, but they overperformed. A lot of it had to do, of course, with Lauri Markkanen. But Walker Kessler was really good for that group, and they now believe they have an established starting center going forward. Proven commodity is doing what he's supposed to be doing right now, and I think he was one spot behind Keegan. So you have 2 guys that are instant contributors that are being pushed down because they don't have as high upside as guys who aren't contributing. I mean, I know Jaden Ivey had good games for the Detroit Pistons. Pistons sucked. It's not Jaden's fault. It's a compilation of kind of individuals who are trying to, how many top picks are in Detroit right now that are just kind of figuring it out? Like Keegan Murray is contributing to a winner. Walker Kessler was somewhat contributing to a winner right now. I'm taking those 2 guys more than I'm taking Jaden Ivey at this point in time. Again, it's not disrespectful. It's I know what they are, and I know they can help me win basketball games, and they're going to get better.
I hear you.
Have you gotten caught up in all of the Sasha stuff?
Yes, kinda. Like I've tried to pay attention as much as possible. Where I'm hesitant with Sasha is I've seen people talk about, well, if you bring Sasha over, you don't need to bring this guy back or this guy, which I think is stupid. Like, I don't think you make any decision on Trey Lyles or Harrison Barnes based off of Sasha coming over or not. Because again, we're talking about 2 proven commodities. I've seen people say, you don't need Trey Lyles if you bring Sasha over. What the hell are you talking about? You know what Trey Lyles is. Trey Lyles is about as perfect as a rotational player as you could need on this team, the way this team plays, for the price that he's going to get, and he wants to be here. And we know what he can do in the NBA. Why would you let that walk for a European player who has a great jump shot and high upside that you're excited about, but you've never seen him play in the NBA before and you don't know how his game is going to translate? Bring them both over, let them compete, and someone wins that spot. Better yet, both of them are so good that you have to find a way to play them, and maybe you go small with Sasha at the 4 and Trey Lyles at the 5, like we saw at times during the NBA playoffs. But don't make a decision on Barnes or Lyles based off of Sasha coming over or not, who, again, you acquired his rights for a second-round pick. So we're not talking about a world beater who's going to cover. If he turns into a starter, if he turns into like Nemanja Bjelica starter for the Sacramento Kings when he had that really good season, amazing. But that's not a good Harrison Barnes replacement. That's not. It's not a good Trey Lyles replacement unless he proves he can do that. So my only opinion on Sasha is bring him over. Would love to see him. There's a lot to get excited about. His quick release is nuts. I know his highlight package wasn't necessarily the best in that playoff game that Mike Brown went and saw earlier this week. But there was a play where a errant pass was thrown his way and he caught it above his head up here, brought it down to about here, and then shot it and released. It didn't go in, but it was close. It was a quick release where you're like, wow, I could really see that being an asset for when De'Aaron Fox attacks the basket. His man leaves him for a second to help, and Sasha's right there for a kick out throw. I think he ideally fits perfectly with what the Sacramento Kings need, and you can always add more shooting. But I'm not looking at Sasha as a replacement for anybody on this roster unless it's like a Alex Len or Neemias Queta or Keon Ellis. Like, that's it. That's the only guy. Those are the only guys that he's replacing here in Sacramento at this point.
Matt was turned up today.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
It's the crown. It's the glasses.
I like it. I like this. The Macho King, Matt George. About? Yeah, I love this.
I'm mad because the Warriors keep winning. Damn it. Just die. Just die. Go out with your heads held high. I don't even want the Lakers to win, but just go away.
No, I don't think it's happening, man. Check out the Locked On Kings podcast. And of course, Matt's great work over at ABC 10. Matt, we appreciate you. As always, we're headed out to Celtics, Philadelphia. Oh man. Jesse's going to hit the automation button so quick and be in that Tapia BMW jetting down to get home in front of the TV. So stay tuned. We've got NBA basketball coming your way here on Sacramento Sports Leader, ESPN 1320.
Go, whoever.
We got to go. Just before Matt, I glanced over at the Chatty House, and I need someone to provide some context about what the hell was going on here. I looked over, and this is what I saw. What the hell were y'all discussing? Now, look, what y'all talk while me and Casey and Matt are talking, that's y'all business. Y'all do your thing. But what were y'all talking about?
The Blue Chew conversation?
No, this was during our conversation with Matt.
Yeah.
Hey, if 4 inches is your thing, hey, do you? But
that's pretty average, isn't it?
Okay.
That's pretty solid. What are we talking about?
Sir.
That's pretty good, right? You guys want some kale for dinner?
Oh man. Okay. Jesse says we've got to end the show. We love y'all so much. I was just curious. That's all. I looked over and saw that and had to ask some questions. And I think we got to get out of here because Mia's coming in here. So we love y'all, man. We'll see y'all tomorrow.